Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Hello, good morning. Jon Gericke in for Tula Sizwe at 7 minutes past 6. I'm Jon Gericke, looking after you for the next 3 hours, and it's lekker to be along with you today. Monday, what's the date? Monday the 18th of August already. Sorry, the writing's really small and it's really early. Welcome to the show. It's a busy show, so let's get right into it. Let me tell you what's coming up in this half hour. We're going to catch up with the diary. We're going to talk to Melissa about what all the big news is. And as you know, the big news is what Floyd Shivambu's doing, and we're going to catch up with that and get a little bit more on that. Then also this half hour, we're going to see with the political scientist and commentator from the University of Pretoria about this Putin and Zelensky and Trump and the EU and those negotiations and talks that are ongoing there. And we're going to get an update on what's expected from that Zelensky-Trump conversation. Also, what the European Union have been up to over the weekend as well. Then, COSATU have officially endorsed a new private members bill. They're seeking to end the outsourcing of core government services. It was introduced by the EFF. And this is going to have employment of workers directly for services that are regularly required. So we'll find out what that means for the workers. We'll also find out what that means for municipalities with Matthew Parks, who is the Parliamentary Coordinator Congress of South African Trade Union. Big accident on the N2 highway on Friday that claims 6 lives. There's an ongoing discussion about that and road safety in KwaZulu-Natal. And we're going to stay in KwaZulu-Natal because the Premier there has come under fire for remarks that human rights groups fear could fuel xenophobia. We'll find out what those remarks were and also what that means. And staying with human rights, Gayton McKenzie. You might have seen over the weekend the Human Rights Council has launched a formal investigation into Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie. That's after those racially offensive remarks he made on social media a little while ago. But also we're going to, and also a live video as well, a live broadcast. So we're going to talk to the Commissioner of the South African Human Rights Commission and see what the process is there. We're going to get an update on the National Convention of the National Dialogue that was held in Pretoria this weekend. We're going to we'll talk to the National Dialogue Civic Society Caucus and a member of the convention. We're going to find out what they make of what happened over the weekend. Is this the beginning of the beginning, or is it just a talk shop? And I know you have some strong views on that, and social media has been awash with comments on this national dialogue, so we'll talk about that. Interesting study coming up from the University of Stellenbosch, and they've found out that during that alcohol ban during COVID, there was a reduction in the amount of fire incidents in the city of Cape Town. And this research shows rare evidence that alcohol availability may significantly impact fire risk. We're going to talk to the researcher that did that and see what that means for us. And then towards the end of the program, it's an ongoing issue about what mining companies are doing in South Africa. We're going to focus a little bit on the legal obligations regarding housing for their workers and surrounding communities. I feel like in the old days, there was mining houses was a great benefit of being able to work in the mines. Some of them were atrocious, some of them were great. But now it seems as if mine companies aren't even supplying housing for the workers. And then you get informal settlements that build up around the mines and lacking basic services. And now civil society groups are calling for urgent enforcement and accountability to those mine companies. We're going to talk to a researcher at the Benchmarks Foundation about that. So it's a busy show. Over the next 3 hours, let's tell you what's happening. Let's brief you. It's the Morning Brief.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
I'm one of those that's of the view that we should not even be looking at the NDP as the North Star, simply because of how far off we are. What then becomes our North Star? How do we get to that point?
You know, I don't think we need a North Star, Kathy. I think we need first to investigate numerous constellations. The kind of work I was doing with the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation many years ago, where we went into communities who were different and we brought them together, listened to each other, understood what was irritating one about the other, tried to understand where they saw themselves getting together and working together for the good of the country.
Terry Oakley-Smith, founder and CEO of Diversity.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen and nothing is off the agenda.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
12 minutes past 6. Let's get the morning brief in brief. Melissa Buta is here with us, one of the producers of the program. Melissa, morning.
Morning, John. How are you?
Lekker. Floyd Shivambu making the big headlines today, I guess.
Yes, so Floyd Shivambu, former Secretary General of Umkhonto weSizwe Party, will visit Zulu King Misizulu Kazwelithini in Nongoma today to introduce his new political movement, Maibuye Africa. Following national consultations, Shivambu announced that 8 provinces supported forming not only a political party, but a broader movement involving civil society, unions, and civic groups. The party plans to contest local elections in 2026. Shivambu also emphasized that current political parties have lost public trust and this was shown by low voter count turnout in 2024. His visit to the king aims to inform traditional leadership of the movement's goals and community support.
I look forward to seeing that. Also, interesting, he's doing it in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes.
And I'm wondering where he will take electorate or take votes from. You know, if it'll be MK or if he'll get into EFF.
Of course, it will be
fascinating.
interesting to see where his support comes from.
There's a little bit of history there. And what's happening in Cape Town?
So Cape Town has seen a 10% drop in residential fires and a 25% decrease in related deaths over the past year, according to the city's 2024 and 2025 fire statistics. Despite this progress, firefighters continue to face violent attacks while on duty, especially on weekends. High-risk areas include Khayelitsha, Philippi, Gugulethu, Mfuleni, and Wallaceedon. Most fire-related deaths occur between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., often involving intoxicated male victims. Safety MMC JP Smith stressed the need for continued fire safety education and vigilance, particularly regarding alcohol use near fire, open fire flames, in these communities.
Yeah, you've lined that up for 20 past 8 today. I'm looking forward to that conversation. And Santaku, what is happening with Santaku? Social media, and they are disagreeing with social media?
Quite a lot happening over there. Santaku has denied the claims that it has instructed citizens not to use private vehicles or transport for their families, calling the reports false and misleading. This follows social media posts alleging that taxi drivers were harassing motorists and restricting private transport, including parents driving children to school. Santaku clarified that it has issued no such directive and condemned any such acts. The council emphasized that only law enforcement had the authority over transport regulations and urged the public to report any harassment to motorists. Santaku KZN also reiterated that the council's role is to coordinate taxi services and not to enforce laws. So this is quite an interesting story that developed over the weekend.
Fascinating. It's always this distance between the taxi operators, the actual guys on the road,
Yes.
and Santaku. It always seems that it's
Quite
not
a big
us.
gap.
It's not us. We weren't involved, but you're in charge.
Yes.
Melissa, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Melissa Buta, one of the producers of the program. That's your morning brief in brief.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Take a quick look at your weather this morning. There is a high fire danger warning expected in places over the Dr. Beyers Naudé local municipality of the Eastern Cape and the Karreeburg local municipality of the Northern Cape. As for the rest of the country, Pretoria, Johannesburg and Vereeniging today, partly cloudy. Capital 8 to 22, Johannesburg 9 to 21 and Vereeniging 10 to 20. Mbombela today is partly cloudy, some morning drizzle 12 to 23. Polokwane is partly cloudy 7 to 22. Mahikeng is fine and windy 10 to 24. Vryburg, Bloemfontein, Kimberley, partly cloudy and windy. Vryburg 7 to 25, Bloemfontein 8 to 23, and Kimberley 11 to 25. Uppington is fine, 4 to a hot 28 already. Cape Town, some morning fog, as you heard Rob Byrne telling you earlier. Otherwise, partly cloudy, a moderate to fresh northwester, 11 to 20. George is fine, a moderate to fresh southwester, 8 to 21. Gqeberha has some morning fog, otherwise it's going to be fine. The wind is a light to moderate westerly to southwesterly, 16 to 24. East London's partly cloudy, a light to moderate southerly to southeaster, 15 to 25. Durban partly cloudy with a moderate to fresh northerly to northeaster. It will reach strong this afternoon, 17 to 25. Richards Bay is partly cloudy, a moderate to fresh norther to northeaster, 18 to 26. Pietermaritzburg today has some morning fog, otherwise it's partly cloudy from a low of 11 to a high of 27.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All. We honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
It's 18 minutes past 6. Now, let's talk about the summit that happened, when was it, on Friday. Vladimir Putin was in Alaska along with US President Donald Trump. It's an interesting angle on that, but also there's going to be conversations with Zelensky and Trump as well. What does all of this mean? Let's talk to Roland Henwood, a political scientist and commentator from the University of Pretoria. I've lost my mouse. There we go. Press that button. There we go. Roland, good morning to you. Thank you very much. Let's go back to Friday. There were a lot of promises ahead of this conversation between Putin and Trump, but nothing seemed to come out of it at the end.
Good morning, John. I think if one judges Friday in terms of the expectations that have been created, regardless of where it comes from, then probably you can argue that not much happened. But I think if we look back at what has transpired since then, it is definitely not the case. Mm-hmm. Actually, it seems that quite a lot has happened. Where this is going to lead to is not sure. It's not clear at this stage, but there's definitely more movement on this than at any time in the last 2 years.
Okay, what has come out then?
What has come out is that there's negotiations happening. There seems to be a basis for continued negotiations that was laid in the meeting between the presidents. We've seen since then another round of meetings between European leaders and President Zelensky. We've seen meetings between the US president and European leaders and President Zelensky. That indicates something already. That was after the meeting with Putin. And now we see 6 leaders from Europe, key leaders from Europe, and the Ukrainian president meeting in Washington today. So clearly there's something on the table that is being considered, that is being discussed. If it's going to be successful, of course, is a different question, but definitely there's been a lot of movement since Friday.
Are the European Union and the USA speaking the same language, or are they disagreeing quite vehemently with how much land needs to be given or ceded to Russia?
I don't think that has really been discussed so far. The principle is on the table. It's been rejected by Ukraine, rightly so. I think that should be their position. On the other hand, it's not a question of there's no negotiation. So the fact that it's been rejected, but the negotiations continue, the meetings continue, indicate that there is something that is being considered. And my understanding, if I look at what is happening, is that the US and European leadership is actually closer together than they've been for a long time, definitely since Mr. Trump took over as president. And I say that because there seems to be an open line of discussions that is continuing between Washington and Europe. It's not a one-on-one. It's not we say, you say. There's definitely a coordinated approach to this. Not that everyone agrees. I don't think one must make that mistake. But there's definitely a concerted effort to get somewhere and to make sure that they broadly stay on side in terms of what is on the table and what is the objectives going forward.
Trump has insisted on a ceasefire, but then there's also talk about, I've got notes here that they might skip a ceasefire. What does all that mean?
Well, essentially that's been done. Mr. Trump's position before Friday was, if I don't get a ceasefire, I'll be disappointed and there may be consequences. Now, he's been threatening the Russians with much more stricter sanctions. He's already implemented some of that, not that directly, but indirectly on people who trade like India with Russia, definitely linked to that. At this stage, the position seems to be that there's been enough movement to skip a ceasefire and go directly into negotiations to try and end the war.
Trump was talking about big progress on social media. There are very few specifics, and I think, Roland, you've also sort of raised that point that there seems this was all sort of talks before talks.
Yeah, in a way, and it seems that the talks before talks have overtaken the ideas that existed before Friday, that we have to follow the process of a ceasefire and then negotiations, and the ceasefire gets broken. So that's the pattern we've become used to in these kinds of negotiations. There seems to be a more direct cut into let's go to negotiations and see if we can reach a deal. And I think this is important. The person that has been very careful on this is the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, constantly stressing that, yes, we are talking, but there's no guarantee. This thing can still lead to nothing. So on the one hand, you have the Trump idea saying big progress. On the other hand, you say the Secretary of State saying be careful. This is the beginning of a process. We're not at the end of the process yet.
And Europe putting their support firmly behind Ukraine here.
Definitely so, but I don't think, again, it's an unlimited support in the sense that there are limits to what Europe can do. And Europe understands that it needs the US if it wants to counter Russian influence. So there's still a lot of dynamics in this process that can change the way in which it plays out.
What do you see will happen between the European Union meeting with Trump today along with Zelensky?
I think the discussion will be on what is on the table, what is the feeling. I mean, the US leadership engaged directly with the Russian leadership, and they have a sense of what can be done. And then the bargaining will start. Ukraine is probably going to face a choice of we will support you, we will assist you, we will give guarantees for your security, but you are going to have to accept that some parts of your country will no longer be controlled or governed by Ukraine. Whether that is going to be what is distinguished as de jure or de facto recognition is on the table. Unlikely that it will be a legal acceptance, but on the ground, that may be what the choice that Ukraine faces.
Trump on his Truth Social today, or Sunday night, said, and I'm going to quote, President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Already it seems strange taking that side, and he's been on this angle for a while. He doesn't feel as if Russia's invaded Ukraine.
I think that is open to interpretation. That seems to have been the message of President Trump, although if one listens to his administration, like Secretary of State Rubio, clearly that's not the message they are sending. So it may be the way President Trump is presenting it, the choice of words, etc. Unlikely that it is as simple as that. But the bottom line is, I mean, if President Zelensky capitulates, it's the end of the war. So in a sense, it's direct and easy. But I mean, that's not an option. If you're in Ukraine, that's definitely not an option. So that's where the complexities then start. How do you cover that space between being wiped off the face of the earth in a manner of speaking, and maintaining your identity, your sovereignty, your nationhood? And so between those two, that's a vast space to cover, and there are many different options. The question is, which one do you choose and what support do you get? If you're Ukraine and you don't get support, there's nothing you can do.
Trump goes on, he says, remember how it started? No getting back Obama given Crimea. And in full capitals, he says, no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. That's one of the requests that Ukraine have been asking for from the beginning, to become part of NATO. And that's obviously one of the reasons Russia invaded them.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons Russia gives for invasion. That's also open to debate. But interestingly, since Friday, this is a major change, is that the US and Europe has made this very clear, that they are willing to provide the security guarantees to Ukraine that is equal to the Section 5 NATO requirement. So although Russia will not accept NATO membership, it seems that the alternative is a similar guarantee will be given by the US and Europe to Ukraine, and Russia will accept that.
Roland
Semantics
Henwood,
maybe, but
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah, at least there's something in a direction. Roland Henwood, thank you very much, political scientist and commentator from the University of Pretoria.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai walks in this morning and she says, I don't want to talk about sports.
It was no DNA, it was tears for us the whole weekend, man. Anyway, let's start with the Mamelodi Sundowns. Their coach, Miguel Cardoso. No need to panic, guys, after their 1-1 draw with Orlando Pirates in the MTN 8 semi-final first leg at Orlando Stadium. While the away goal could prove decisive, Cardoso insists the Brazilians must play to win the second leg. And it's all happening at the Lucas Moripa Stadium on Saturday. You can catch it live on SABC Sport. In the meantime, Sekhukhune United coach Eric Tinkler says his side paid the price for too many errors in their 2-0 MTN 8 semi-final first leg defeat to Stellenbosch at the Dani Craven Stadium. The result also underlined Tinkler's ongoing battle with Stellenbosch coach Steve Barker.
Yes and no. Yes, obviously, you know. I don't have a great record against the Stellies, especially under Cape Town City. But obviously with other clubs it wasn't that bad. But with Cape Town City it wasn't great. So it obviously plays in the back of your mind. But doesn't change who I am. I still want to come here and I still want to win. You know, and hopefully I can do that the next trip we come here.
Continental Soccer, Kenya confirming their dominance in Group A of the African Nations Championship after a 1-0 victory over Zambia at a packed Moi International Sports Centre in Kasarani yesterday. Kenya will stay in Nairobi to play Madagascar in the quarterfinal. That's on Friday, while Morocco travel to face Tanzania in the last 8 match. Elsewhere, Arsenal edged to a 1-0 win against a much improved Manchester United in the Premier League opener, and it was Chris Wood who scored twice as Nottingham Forest beat Brentford 3-1. And some exciting news as well. We also had the Springboks, not so exciting. They were knocked off their perch in the world's #1 team after a collapse at Ellis Park, leading 22-0 at halftime. The Boks fell 38-22 to the Wallabies. This is Australia's first victory in Johannesburg since 1963. And the new UFC middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev dethroned Dricus du Plessis, with the South African graciously accepting defeat without offering any excuses. After 5 rounds at the United Center in Chicago, the judges delivered a unanimous decision in favor of the Russian, declaring him the clear winner. Speaking after the fight, du Plessis had this message for his beloved country.
Everybody in South Africa, you all know this flag means the world to me. I'm sorry for anybody that I let down. I'll be back stronger. Now, as South Africans, we rise, we fight through adversity, and we'll show the world they still don't know what we know. We're coming back stronger than ever. We will not lose this fight lying down. I promise you that. See you all soon. Thank you, everybody, for coming out once again.
We'll be back stronger at the top of the hour with more sport. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, a 32-year-old man from Eldorado Park, south of Johannesburg, accused of assaulting and raping his 4-year-old daughter, is today expected to apply for bail in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto. National convener of the Maibuye consultation process, Floyd Shivambu, says after engaging with various structures and volunteers, people have told him they want a new party that will contest in the 2026 local government elections. The Maibuye consultation process wrapped up its last leg in KwaZulu-Natal. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has commended Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan for the role she played as SADC chairperson on politics, defense and security. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning, Durban. First up, crash on the N2 southbound before Kumashu. Is in, of course, the middle of the roadworks there between Gateway and Kumashu, so it's a bit of a double whack and a heavy delay. If you're coming in from Belito, Quatakuza, coming down out of the airport off-ramp at Schloti, or if you missed that, get off at Gateway, go down to the M4. If you get past Gateway, there's hardly any movement on that section of the N2. The N2 running north is under a bit of pressure as well from the M7, making your way up through Spaghetti Junction towards Westwood Mall, and Munsum Toti through Athlone Park, Kingsway Hospital, the R102, currently blocked by protest action. So if you come out of Toti, keep it on the N2 rather than the R102 Kingsway. Andrew Zondo, you might know it as well. Protesting there, blocking that section of the roadway. And there's quite a heavy delay already built up into that Sabisi route. The N2 between Port Shepstone and Issaquah, overnight protesting much earlier this morning. The road is open. It has been open for some time. Joburg, just the normal sort of backlog on the Mike 1 South this morning, looking reasonably heavy from Boyson's, making your way up through towards the Empire Road exit. The N1 looking fairly heavy, as you might expect for a back-to-work Monday. Brockfontein down to New Road is the extent of the delay there. And just watch out for a double whack on Marine Drive this morning. The big backlog is into no traffic lights at Racecourse Road. They've been out since Friday. Very unusual for a big junction in Cape Town. So Marine Drive queuing heavily. And then once you get past that, there is a crash near Milnerton High School and very misty across Cape Town. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through and get through safely. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And it's good morning, Tauleng Lechela. What is happening with Samsung phones doing well in the States?
A bit of a war for more U.S. consumers, and it seems like Samsung is gaining ground over Apple in the U.S. smartphone market. It's playing catch-up there. According to data by Canalys, its market share increased to 31% in the second quarter, up from 23% previously. Meanwhile, Apple's market share declined to 49% from 56%. Canalys notes that the shift is attributed to Samsung's wide range of products at different price points, including low-end phones and high-end devices like the Galaxy Z Fold 7, which features a foldable screen. Now, the company's ability to offer a broader range of products at various price points from $650 to around $2,400 is giving giving it an edge over Apple, whose iPhones range from about $829 to close to $1,600. Now, analysts expect Apple to respond with new form factors, including a potential folding phone, which could start at around $2,000.
Yeah, I also wonder if it's Apple that have, they dropped the ball when it came to their AI. I wonder if it's Apple losing out as opposed to Samsung coming in, if that makes sense. But let's move on. MAS bidding, what has been happening there?
So the MAS bid has been in the spotlight for quite a while now, as it's one of its key shareholders, Prime Capital, has been having a back and forth with another property company, Hypop, who was trying to buy the company's assets. Now, it seems like, after months of back and forth, Prime Capital now holds a substantial share in MAS PLC. This comes as it successfully completed its voluntary offer for MAS, acquiring over 100 million shares and increasing its stake to 49.4%. Now, despite securing 230 million euros in funding for the takeover, Prime Capital limited its cash consideration to 115 million euros to maintain a healthy free float in MAS and ensure the company remains listed. Now, this move also allows Prime Capital to reinstate dividend payments as early as next month, which was suspended in 2023 due to disputes over profit sharing in the development joint venture with MAS. Now, MAS's board had faced criticism from shareholders over governance concerns and limited transparency around the joint venture. This was one of the reasons Hypop withdrew its bid. Now, shareholders have called for a general meeting to remove 2 Prime Capital linked directors and appoint 4 independent directors. This move, of course, solidifies Prime Capital's position en masse while also addressing governance concerns.
And Taoling, what's happening on the markets this morning?
The markets closed the week, last week that is, mixed, with traders playing it safe as they assess those Trump-Putin talks. The Nasdaq led the losses down 0.4%. Moving over to local markets, the JSE pretty flat in Friday's close, with some profit taking ensuing. The all share shedding 0.02%. This comes as the Resources 10 complex edged lower, down close to 0.5%. And talking resources, all starting the week on the back foot today, slipping below the $65 per barrel mark. Over in currency markets, the brand making gains this hour at 17.56 to the greenback. Then lastly, in Asia, stocks trading mostly higher amid expectations of the 3-year plus war between Russia and Ukraine potentially ending soon, with U.S. President Trump saying he and Russian President Putin discussed land transfers and security guarantees for Ukraine and had largely agreed.
Taoling Lachela, thank you very much. More business coming up in an hour's time.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Good chatting to Sipho Mantula again. Sipho, good morning to you. Saw you briefly in the car park this morning. What's happening with the SADC Summit, the 45th SADC Summit over the weekend?
Good morning, John, and Jump Africa. John, indeed, this was the conclusion of the 45th SADC Summit yesterday in Madagascar under the theme Advancing Industrialization, Agricultural Transformation, Energy Transition for a Resilient SADC. Two major important things came out, John, there. As you know, that Zimbabwe was heading over to Madagascar as the chair for 2025-2026. South Africa elected also as an incoming chair of SADC in 2026 for 2027 for the 46th summit in August next year. Also, the executive secretary, Elias Mahosi from Gaborone, was reappointed and sworn into the same position following his appointment in 2021. I think also, John, they will be touching on the issues of DRC. They'll be touching on Mozambique for 2025, but also looking at their theme. How do they deal with the food security as well as the issue of energy, the issue of electricity, John? I think these are the major challenges that is facing the regional bloc of SADC. And also for President Ramaphosa, coming out of the National Convention of the National Dialogue, John, it was emphasized there that also the SADC, the AU, is a partner for assisting South Africa to can pave the way for this national dialogue that was initiated on Friday at UNISA.
And there's tensions between Portugal and Guinea-Bissau?
John, that tension, it is coming out that one of the journalists from Portugal, they were expelled from Guinea-Bissau, and they were told that they should leave by tomorrow, the 19th of August. And this is based on that there's elections coming in Guinea-Bissau on the 23rd of November. Now, Portugal has called the Guinea ambassador to come and explain what has happened, John, with this expelling of the media agency of LUSA of Portugal and two African units of public broadcaster of Portugal in Guinea-Bissau. This is not for the first time, John, that Guinea-Bissau expel what we can call external observers. Even the ECOWAS mission there was expelled by the current president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo.
What's happening in ECOWAS as well? I see some changes trying to happen there.
John, Sierra Leone President Julius Maada Bio, as the chairperson of ECOWAS, has been pushing to reintegrate the Alliance of the Sahel. We know the Alliance of Sahel is made up of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. He has emphasized that maybe the issues of targeting of sanctions against them, he should be pushing for reconciliation and regional integration within the ECOWAS region, meaning he's pushing of what others they're calling a robust partnership with the Alliance of the Sahel states. These three countries, John, we know early this year in January, they formed this alliance. And on the 6th of July, they formally endorsed that they are pulling out of ECOWAS and they are going on their own without following the ECOWAS principles, which was formed in 1975. It's almost 50 years of ECOWAS, but we have the disintegration of what I'm always saying is ECOWAS now becoming ECOIS.
Mm-hmm. And what's in your archives today?
John, very important day in our historical archive. It's almost 48 years ago when the co-founder of the Black Consciousness Movement and his comrade Peter Jones were detained and arrested under the Terrorism Act of 1967. This was Stephen Bantu Biko, John, who was arrested when he was arrested going to Cape Town. And this is very important, John, because this arrest is the beginning of the dehumanization and the beginning of the torture of Bantu Biko between the month of August towards the 11th of September. So this is how we track the arrest of Biko on this day in 1977. Asante Sana, John, as we are still in the conversation, SFM observing the Women's Month and the Biko arrest day.
Advocate Sifu Mantula, thanks very much.
The Northwest Provincial Legislature Portfolio Committee on Premier and Finance, led by Honorable Nathan Oliphant, will conduct public hearings on the Northwest Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Bill on the 20 August 2025 at Kakunwana Tribal Hall in Ngakamudrimolema District, Trim Park Hall in Potchefstroom, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, Utlanang Community Hall in Christiana, Dr. Ruth Sokomutsi Mompati District, and Monakato Community Center in Monakato, Bojanala District. All hearings start at 10.
Channel your inner warrior women this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom, wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Let us celebrate #IzinjaZeGame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
It's the morning brief. Jon Gericke in for Tula Sizwe. Good morning to you. Just about 6:45. South Africa's largest labour federation, COSATU, has endorsed a new private members bill that seeks to end the outsourcing of core government services. It was introduced by the EFF in Parliament, and the insourcing bill aims to compel state organs to employ workers directly for services they regularly require, reversing decades of outsourcing. COSATU has pledged to mobilise national support for the bill's swift adoption. Matthew Parks is Parliamentary Coordinator for the Congress of South African Trade Unions. Matthew, good morning to you. Thank you very much. This endorsement must be a major boost for this bill.
Thank you. Good morning for having us. Yes, we're quite excited by it. This is an issue that we've been campaigning for quite some time. It speaks to the frustrations of workers on the ground who have really seen their conditions of service, their salaries, their pensions, but also the labour rights and protections really grotesquely undermined and watered down over years of outsourcing. We think it's also useful to deal with the issue of corruption. Outsourcing really has become the kind of epicenter of corruption state capture across the state. And unless we deal with it, then we can't continue to be surprised every Sunday when we see headlines about, which politician, which family member, which businessman got some, overtly inflated tender and then failed to deliver on the services. And again, that speaks to saving money for the state. If you deal with insourcing, then you will save the state money because these contracts, by their nature, cater for profit. And then the state just doesn't have that kind of money. It also speaks to recapacitating the state to provide basic services. And we all know how badly weakened the city has become over the past few decades. So I think for us it's a positive thing. It's a fair, reasonable bill, and also does provide exemptions where insourcing just isn't practical, for example, because it's a once-off function or they wouldn't have the capacity per se, etc. But for us, it makes sense, and it really is a positive platform to have a discussion which is long overdue.
From a political context, we find this quite interesting because this is a long-standing ANC and alliance partner resolution being brought now by the EFF that you are supporting.
Yes, look, that's an issue democracy is evolving. But our position has been, once you're a member of parliament, we respect all members of parliament, whether you're from the EFF on the far left or you're from the FF Plus on the far right. You're all elected members of parliament. You're all meant to do your work. But we have supported bills previously, and we've helped to get them through, even when they were drafted by opposition MPs. We had put into law in 2018 an amendment to the labour laws providing for paid parental leave, paid adoption leave. That was drafted by an ACDP member of parliament in response to COSATU's campaigns. We had managed to enhance same-sex marriages bill through a COPE bill also around the same time. And even our amendments of the PIC Act to deal with corruption was actually originally drafted by the DA. So if an MP speaks to an issue of COSATU, we'll support it. If they don't, we won't support it. But I think for us what's critical is to get the support of the ANC. It does speak to the ANC's own resolutions for the past decade where the ANC had said they're committed to insourcing for the same reasons. And I think for us, it's necessary we have these discussions because now you have a parliament where the ANC has got 40%, so there's no single majority party. So there will need to be discussions. There will need to be discussion with members of the GNU, members of parties outside the GNU. But I think for us, we think most political parties, irrespective of ideology, would support this, and that it's beneficial to the state, to workers, and to society and the economy.
When it is implemented, you mentioned the inflated pricing, fraudulent service contracts with the outsourcing. What will be the accounting mechanisms for internal sourcing?
Well, I mean, part of it speaks to that. It indicates quite specifically which kinds of functions need to be insourced. Maintenance, gardening, security, cleaning, so forth, IT, auditing, and so on. And it says where, for example, you can't do this, you need to get exemptions. Here's the criteria to do so, and here's who must approve it, including the finance minister, etc. So those are useful mechanisms. But we think you'd have to also make sure, because often good laws are passed by Parliament, signed by the President, and then there's a struggle to implement them. So you have to make sure that Treasury is able, through the Chief Procurement Officer, to really make sure that whether it's a department, nationally, provincially, whether it's a municipality, an entity, or SOE, that they all do indeed do this. It provides provisions for the Minister for Finance to report to Parliament as well once a year on progress and so forth. And that's critical. And also you've got to make sure that the relevant state organs know about it, capacitated, trained, etc. Otherwise it's going to be, an own goal. And it's not going to be an easy thing. The state is huge. It moves very, very slowly, but this is nonetheless a necessity. And it coincides nicely with the Public Procurement Act, where Treasury is currently busy with regulations. And that also seeks to kind of have a seamless, single, transparent public procurement system for the entire state. And this really will complement that. It's going to be a journey, but I think for us, given the levels of corruption and given the undermining of workers' rights and given the scarce public resources, this is a really long overdue step forward.
Matthew Parks, thank you very much. He's the Parliamentary Coordinator of the Congress of the South African Trade Unions.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, fairly busy coming out of Pretoria down to Midrand this morning. Just a weight of Monday traffic, but it is backlogging from Brockfontein all the way down to New Road. Lights at Olifantsfontein and the N1 highway are working, brand new, recently installed. It's been a problem, those lights, for a long time, but as you come out of Midrand this morning, it's all brand shiny new through there. That's good. The Mike 1 under quite a bit of pressure from Boysons, heading up through to Empire Road this morning. Just before you get into that, there is a bit of a backlog coming through Uncle Charlie's up towards the Omonde Xavier Street exit. So lots of traffic on Mike 1 coming in from the south side. Durban, we've been advising you to avoid this. It's a taxi crash on the N2 South driving down to the Komashu Highway. It's in amongst the roadworks as well, so it's already limited lanes. There is a massive backlog beyond the Gateway exit and working back to Sabaya. So if you're in from the airport, Palito, Kwatakuza area, driving in from Mpangeni side, on your way to Durban, look for the Mshloti off-ramp, get off there and just take take the M4 straight through to Durban. If you miss that and come off at Gateway, you'll hit a big backlog on the M41, which is full of traffic diverting down towards the M4 as well. Durban's M2 quite heavy this morning, coming up from the M7 through towards Westwood Mall. An earlier crash on the R102 at Kingsway Hospital, Monsam-Toti. Looks like that road has been reopened. It was closed. They had to land the emergency chopper in there, but it seems that traffic is starting to move again through that Athlone Park area. The N2 is pretty busy, Toti through Prospect, and with motorists diverting that way during that R102 closure. And Cape Town, a couple of issues on Marine Drive. The big one is really the lack of traffic lights. These have been out since Friday. Marine Drive at Racecourse Road. So if you're coming out of Bloberg side or Tableview or Parklands or Sunningdale, you'll know the deal, and it is as bad as you might be expecting. Coming out on Marine Drive, heavy backlogs to Milnerton, then a crash just past that by the high school. Also driving into the city centre over the elevated freeway, early start to delays there. That's a crash at the end by Walter Sisulu, and very heavy mist across Cape Town this morning. Khayelitsha up through sort of Kales River, Brackenfell, all sorts of problems with visibility and delays around those misty areas, particularly the N1 inbound through from Kraaifontein, Okavango Road, Brackenfell Boulevard around the N1 heavy as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Bafana Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana Bafana on all social media channels.
Hey SA, entries for FlySafe's Business Booster are closing soon. So if you're a small local business that needs help taking off, enter at flysafe.co.za, tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across our various platforms. Whether you're mixing, matching, crafting, or inventing, we want to help your business skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
Imagine if you could save time like you save money. A second here, a minute there. Type a little faster, walk a little faster. Or you could stop scrolling on the internet. Just think of all the hours you'll save. Now what if you could take all that time and invest it? Watch it grow. Until eventually, one day, you'd have so much time that you wouldn't know what to do with it all. But unfortunately, time doesn't work like that. It can't be stored or banked. And unlike money, you can't make it back. That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do whatever you want to do, even if it is scrolling on the internet. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
4 minutes to 7, you with SAFM. Jon Gericke in for Tulas. Good morning. Let's talk about a really sad story happening in KwaZulu-Natal. It was on the N2 highway between Namatikulu and Dogodweni, claiming the lives of 6 people. Truck driver's body was found later. Ndabazinhle Sibia is the spokesperson for the MEC for KwaZulu-Natal Transport and Human Settlements. Ndabazinhle, thank you very much. Just have you got details about how the incident happened?
Good morning, John. Very terrible weekend in KwaZulu-Natal. On Saturday morning, the MEC for Transport and Human Settlements responded to receive the call from our highly efficient team from Road Traffic Inspectorate informing him about that horrific accident. It appears as if vehicle. It actually ran over it. The truck overturned, crashing the light motor vehicle, killing 5, members of the same family. The driver was actually trapped in the truck. He was discovered, I think, after almost 3 hours. A very sad Saturday morning in KwaZulu-Natal.
What are the road conditions like between Amatikulu and Dokudweni there?
It's a very beautiful stretch of road. The N2, well maintained. We are concerned about the speed. The motorists, are speeding in that stretch of road. We have been there several times. MEC Sponsor Puma has led interfaith prayers, and has been there with engineers from Sanral. The road is in good condition. Very unfortunate that the motorists are taking advantage of the beautiful stretch of road, as a result causing fatalities. Another issue that perhaps we may need to bring up, John, the MEC yesterday congratulated our road traffic inspectorate, for leading a multidisciplinary operation over the weekend. 77 motorists were arrested only on Friday the 15th, in the evening until the wee hours of the morning. 77 motorists arrested. If you look at the arrests in Durban 29, in Pietermaritzburg 17, Kokstad 12, Empangan 11, Ladysmith 5, all arrested for drinking and driving. A very successful weekend in terms of dealing with reckless drivers and those that are driving under the influence of alcohol.
And Dabazitli, while I've got you, I was lucky enough to do a road trip down to Durban the other day. Those roadworks between Maritzburg and Durban and up to the airport, are they on track?
Well, the maintenance, the repair, the rehabilitation of our road networks is going pretty well. The MEC also has expressed his deepest appreciation to the National Minister of Transport, Baba Tracy, the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, for investing in KwaZulu-Natal. We talked here about more than 50 billion invested, so that at least we are able to get KwaZulu-Natal, especially the Department of Transport, to be a catalyst for the growth of all sectors of the economy. As you know, KwaZulu-Natal is a logistics hub. It's got the major port. So the repair and rehabilitation of our main, road network will assist us, to remain, the logistics hub for not only for the country but for the neighboring countries.
And are they on time? Is the question.
Yes. That is what we are obviously working out to ensure that we complete all the construction, the rehabilitation on time. And then jobs have been created. Talking about thousands of people that have been, created, knowing that we're coming from that era which was ravaged by the outbreak of COVID-19, with many sectors of our economy, being destroyed. But there are people that have been reabsorbed in construction. So at least we've got people that are able to wake up and go to work.
Spokesperson for the MEC for KwaZulu-Natal Transport and Human Settlements, Ndabazitli Sibaya, thank you very much. Tragic incident on the N2 between Amatikulu and Dokudweni. You were there, SFM, exactly 7 o'clock.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, murder and rape accused Eldorado Park father to apply for bail, and 2 women killed in separate incidents in Limpopo. Good morning. A 32-year-old man from Eldorado Park, south of Johannesburg, accused of assaulting and raping his 4-year-old daughter, is today expected to apply for bail in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto. The little girl died in hospital due to her injuries. 3 more charges have been added against him. He's also accused of physically assaulting the girl's 2-year-old brother. The NPA spokesperson Pindim Jonondwane says the man now faces 5 charges.
With the case against the father is now facing 5 charges. We've added 3 additional charges to the 2 that he was facing on his first appearance, which is that of rape, compelled rape. murder, child abuse, as well as assault on a minor child.
2 women have been killed in separate incidents in Limpopo. A 36-year-old woman was found in a pool of blood covered with a blanket at Shawela outside Giyani yesterday. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashaba says they are searching for her boyfriend. Meanwhile, a 24-year-old woman was found deceased in a boyfriend's house at Kha Patamedi outside Zanin. It's alleged the couple fought before she was found dead. Mashaba says the suspect has since been arrested.
From Shawela's report in Giyani policing area, it is suspected that the two, who are said to have been in a relationship of some sort, fought, resulting in the man killing the woman. We call upon the known suspect to hand himself over to Giyani police station or any nearest police station in order to resolve this murder case. Meanwhile, at Khapatamedi in Mukwakwayila policing area, there was a similar incident where a couple fought and the man abruptly took the life of the woman. The suspect has been arrested in relation to this murder case. These are painful incidents and must be condemned.
The corruption case of former National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula continues in the High Court in Pretoria today. The court is expected to receive a progress report on the case, which has seen significant delays. The former speaker faces 12 corruption charges and 1 of money laundering. She's accused of receiving 4.5 million rand in bribes during her time as defence minister. The case centres on tenders allegedly awarded in exchange for cash from a defence contractor. National convener of the Maibuye consultation process, Floyd Shivambu, says after engaging with various structures and volunteers, people have told him they want a new party that will contest in the 2026 local government elections. The Maibuye consultation process wrapped up its last leg in KwaZulu-Natal. The former MK Party Secretary General has, with other prominent political figures, including Hlumelo Biko, been soliciting opinions around the country on whether to start a new political party. Shivambu met with and addressed community leaders as well as traditional leaders in the province.
We are here, this is the last province that we are visiting. From different provinces, we went to all the provinces to speak to the people and listen to them, most importantly, as to what is to be done, how to move forward. Because we have observed that all the political formations and parties that exist in South Africa do not enjoy the support and the confidence of majority of South Africans.
And finally, President Cyril Ramaphosa has commended Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan for the role she played as the SADC chairperson on politics, defense and security. Amongst other missions, Suluhu Hassan presided over the negotiations that discussed the security crisis in the eastern DRC. Addressing the closing ceremony of the SADC heads of state and government in Madagascar, President Ramaphosa said some missions were difficult, but Suluhu Hassan showed leadership.
We salute Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan for her sterling leadership of the organ during her tenure. Admittedly, it was not an easy tenure, considering the peace and security missions and challenges whose implementation she had to lead. Her fortitude and unfailing resolve, even when these missions were put to unprecedented test, is truly commendable.
Recapping the top story, a 32-year-old man from Eldorado Park, south of Johannesburg, accused of assaulting and raping his 4-year-old daughter, is today expected to apply for bail in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Just phone Outsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
How is it that Outsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible. What brought you and Outsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, we're still with the MTN8 story and plenty with regards to how the Orlando Pirates Mamelodi Sundowns semi-final. It's a massive, massive interest with coach Miguel Cardoso describing the draw as not a. And we also bring you the story of the South African rugby team beaten 38-22 by Australia, surrendering a 22-point lead and relinquishing their world number 1 ranking. Details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good morning. The big crash on the N2 southbound at Durban really causing big problems this morning, and you really need to be avoiding it. The crash is just before the KwaMashu Highway. The backlogs be beyond the gateway exit. If you're coming in from the airport, coming in from Belito, Kwalakuza off-ramp, somewhere like Umhloti, get onto the M4, the Ruth First Highway, and come in that way. Expect a lot of people to be doing that. So through the sort of Umhlanga Junior Airport area, that M4 is heavy, but it's going to be quicker this morning than the N2 southbound. You might find a way through Umhlanga Rocks Drive as well. N2 staying in Durban off the south coast, Toti through to Prospect and looking fairly heavy. Joburg today, some roadworks on the R21 plus a breakdown going in towards the Benoni exit. So that's all backed up on your way to the airport. The Mike 1 North heavy at Ormonde, and then from Boyston through to Empire Road, really jam-packed as well. And Cape Town, very misty this morning. Everything on a go slow from Khayelitsha through Brackenfell. Take it easy, please. And lights are out on the West Coast Road, Marine Drive at Racecourse Road. That's a monster delay coming in from Sunningdale. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, 9 minutes past 7. Jon Gericke with you in for Tula Sizwe has taken the week off, so I'm with you for the week. Coming up in this half hour, we're hoping to speak to the KwaZulu-Natal Premier, come under fire for remarks that human rights groups called or could fuel xenophobia. Recent statements from the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal talking about limiting undocumented migrants' access to free healthcare and education in the province, claiming that 40% of pupils at a local school were foreign nationals. Being called out, though, by the spokesperson of Kopanang Africa, says that they're concerned about these remarks, saying that the details are wrong, that he was factually incorrect, and we will get an update from the Premier on that saying. In a moment, we're going to talk to the Human Rights Council about their investigation into Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie. And then later on in the program, and I'm looking forward to this conversation, the first national convention of the National Dialogue was held in Pretoria at the weekend. We will talk about what came out of that. Over 1,000 delegates from 200 organizations were there. We're going to talk to the National Dialogue Civic Society Caucus and a member of the convention and executive director of Zabalata Pathways, Anzio Jacob, and see what Anzio makes of what came out this weekend. So plenty for you to get involved in as well. As always, phone lines open, 086 000 2032. Our WhatsApps, if you want to send a WhatsApp voice note, which we will get to. We've got a few coming through already, but you can send us voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Once again, it's a pleasure to welcome back on the show Sheffield Wednesday journalist for the Star publication, Joe Cranch. Liverpool, of course, defending champions. They made some really good signings. Man United have signed some key players. I see Arsenal finally have a striker that they can use up front. And you've got the battle of the sides that have been promoted. Many saying at least two of them will probably go straight back down.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting season, I think. I think we'll see Arsenal and Liverpool in the mix again for the top two. I think Liverpool have signed some great players with Florian Wirtz coming in, with Hugo Ekitike. They've Jeremy Frimpong's really exciting. But I think one to watch for this season for me is Chelsea. I think what Enzo Maresca's done in recent months, obviously they did really well with the Club World Cup, won the Conference League. But if you look back at their form towards the end of the season, they were looking really, really good. And
Top Sport on SAFM. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
It's 12 minutes past 7. The South African Human Rights Commission has launched a formal investigation into the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie. That's following the wave of public outrage over allegedly xenophobic and racially offensive remarks made on social media and a live broadcast. Commission's response was prompted by resurfaced posts and live video that drew widespread criticism for offensive language and racial slurs. We're joined on the line by Advocate Tsepo Madlangozi, Commissioner of the South African Human Rights Commission. Advocate, what does this mean that you've launched an investigation?
Good morning, John, and good morning to your listeners. I'm a commissioner of the South African Human Rights Commission, not an advocate. Yes, we have received complaints from members of the public, from several NGOs, as well as some political parties which were saying that they are offended by the utterances by the minister, but as well as the resurfaced posts. In terms of the South African Human Rights Commission Act, we then commenced with an investigation. We looked at the post, we looked at the Equality Act, specifically Section 10 of the Equality Act in terms of hate speech, and we've come to a prima facie assessment that those posts and utterances are indeed hate speech.
So what is the next step in the process?
So we've sent an urgent letter to the minister on Friday. We've given the minister not later than the 20th of August to respond to the allegations. In the request, in the letter, we make 5 requests. Number 1, we ask the minister to delete the posts in his control in all platforms. Number 2, we are asking the minister to make an written unconditional apology. The third one is for the minister to undertake to refrain from making similar statements in the future. The fourth request is for the minister to undertake a sensitivity diversity training. And then the last one is for the minister to pay damages. So if the minister does, of course, respond positively to the letter, we will then enter into an alternative dispute resolution mechanism where we'll mediate and settle, where the minister abides to all those 5 requests. If not, if the minister, does not respond positively, we'll then have no choice but to proceed to the Equality Court to obtain the demands as set out in our letter.
Okay, so just help me understand this, because I don't understand this process. Have you found him guilty of these things, of whatever the case might be, using a racial slur, because you're asking him to delete, apologize, refrain, go through training and pay damages? Has he been found guilty of breaking some law?
No, we're not in a criminal procedure process, so we don't use the word guilty or not guilty.
Yeah.
What we have found is that the minister's post constitute prima facie violation of the Promotion of Equality and the Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act, so-called the Equality Act. So we have found prima facie that the posts are a violation. So what we do in that case, we then send the letter of allegation to the respondent, to say the respondent, this is what we have found. How do you respond to this allegation? But in the letter, we also send remedies. We also outline remedies because there are people out there who are offended. The posts are still there. The harm is persisting. And therefore, we are saying delete, unconditional apology, and several other next steps. So that is the process we assess. And in terms of our complaints handling procedure, we come to a determination. In this case, the court has been very clear that the use of the K-word is unacceptable.
If he doesn't follow through and do those 5 things, what happens?
Then we will have to go to court on, institute a litigation, take the minister to court. At the court, we also make, those 5 declarations, including the sixth one. The sixth one would be for the court to declare that indeed these utterances are hate speech, and that the minister also abides to all the other requests. Then it becomes a court order and a court judgment where the minister would have been found liable by a court of law that, one, they have committed hate speech, but number 2, that they must abide by all those requests that we have set out.
When does the minister state his case? Because he says he can't be racist and it's politically motivated. He was just trolling and immature at the time. When does he get to have his say?
Yes, once again, we don't use the word racist or not racist. We use the word are the utterances constituting hate speech.
Right.
That is the standard that we're using. It's not about whether racist or not. The word is whether it propagates hate, it demeans, and so forth. The other thing that I seek to remind listeners about is the fact that we've set out 2 sets of allegations. The first one relates to the use of the K-word. The second one relates to alleged xenophobic utterances that constitute harassment in terms of Section 11 of the Equality Act. So the minister will have an opportunity by the 20th of August to respond to those allegations, to set out the context or whatever, and then we will take it from there. But as I said, the courts have been very clear that the use of the K-word is quote-unquote unutterable.
Okay, and is there a different are there different criteria because he is a minister and an MP?
No, we do our work without fear or favor or prejudice in terms of the South African Human Rights Commission Act of 2013. So we don't look at who the respondent is. What is important, the complaints that we have received. What is important is to look at court precedents and court jurisprudence and our own internal complaint handling procedure, and we take it from there. However, it is quite true, as we say in our statement, that the minister has more responsibilities because the minister, of course, number 1, has taken an oath of office where, in terms of the oath of office, the minister is enjoined to uphold the Constitution. Not only to uphold the Constitution, to actively promote the Constitution. So we say in our statement that the minister has more responsibility in terms of, the code of conduct of ministers, but also in terms of the oath of office that the minister has taken. But in terms of the process is the same. It's the same process that we followed with Mr. House, who was a former MP, the same process that we are following with the Open Chat podcast.
Okay, because those are the precedents that have been those are the precedents that have been set, and people are expecting either that or they're watching this very closely because of that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. From our side, of course, we just have to do our work in terms of our complaint settlement procedure. We have to do our work in terms of court processes. We have to do our work, lastly, in terms of being uniform, following the same process that we have followed with other respondents. There is no, looking at who is the respondent. The process is the same. What does the law say? The law says you cannot use the K-word. The court says that the use of statements that seek to demean or harass a specific group of people because of social origin might constitute harassment in terms of Section 11. So, yes, we welcome scrutiny by members of the public. We welcome skepticism of whether the Human Rights Commission will, do this job with so-called kid gloves because we are dealing with the minister. We welcome that scrutiny and will show that we do our work without fear or favor.
Tsepo Bandlingozi, thank you very much. A commissioner at the South African Human Rights Commission.
Wayne, for you, what is the real deal?
For me, it's really customer service. It's getting my money's worth. So if I phone Outsurance and I've got a problem, they're always there.
So it's not just, we've got your money, now off you go.
No, money is not the biggest deal for me. It's service. Just phone Outsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
What does you always get something out mean to you, Lorette?
OUTsurance made it possible for us to live our dream to travel more with the money in our pocket that we save.
Let me know, what is it?
725. It was unbelievable. My husband, he sits there on the chair and he's just nodding his head and say, yes, yes, yes. This is really not just an advertisement. This is really real.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. License insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Let's talk national dialogue. The first national convention of the National Dialogue was held in Pretoria at the weekend. Pivotal moment in South Africa's ongoing efforts to foster unity, inclusion and long-term national renewal. There was concerns about political interference, lack of structure. Let's find out what Anzio Jacob thinks. National Dialogue Civic Society Caucus and a member of the convention and the executive director of the Zabalaza Pathways. Anzio, good morning to you. You happy with what happened at the weekend? Sorry, let me, Anzio, hold on a second. I got to put you on air. There we go, Anzio. You happy with what happened at the weekend?
Good morning, John. Good morning to your listeners. I am ecstatic about what happened at the weekend. We saw robust engagement. We saw protest. We saw people getting up and not wanting to sit down. And this is indicative of a vibrant participatory process. We couldn't possibly have wished for more.
It seemed a little chaotic at times, though.
South Africa is a chaotic place, in all honesty, and I think this is reflective of the kind of experiences of everyday South Africans saying, you know, we never get the opportunity to speak. This is the opportunity to speak, and so we will not stand down when this is the only opportunity that currently exists in the landscape. I think if you look in practical terms, the convention, one, exceeded expectations because there were more people there than what we'd anticipated arriving. Two, every time someone stood up and had a point to make, they were heard. And indeed, some of the things that frustrated people was that the feedback report didn't reflect the inputs that they had made, but the final report is yet to be published. And I think the team has gone a long way in ensuring we've captured correctly and appropriately what the inputs that were made were. And then finally, I think if you look at the delegates that stayed behind after the convention had closed to continue having the discussions and finish what they were saying, it was truly indicative of an experience that is worthwhile and a good kickoff to the dialogue process.
Anzio, are you going to be able to change people's perception? Because if you hit social media now, if we open the phone lines, everybody, bar one or two, would say this is not a very good idea.
Look, in honesty, we are operating in a trust deficit. And so we don't expect South Africans to be coming out of the gate saying, hey, this is the best process ever. We are so excited about its outcomes. Instead, what we're hoping to do is to prove through iterative engagement, through citizen-led dialogues, through having ward-based engagements, through community radio engagement, through addressing challenges as they're coming about, that we slowly start to rebuild the trust in this process. It is going to be a long-term, journey, and I think that in many ways, the kickoff to the convention signals some of the problems that we'll have along the way, that we need more time for people to speak. We need greater inclusion, especially in the facilities that we're using, and we need to give people the time to really ventilate what it is that they had to say. The convention was not the place for that. I think the convention was really the place to discuss how we were going to approach the national dialogue. But the dialogues that are about to unfold, all 60,000 of them, will really be the space where South Africans can truly reclaim that voice, as they hope to do in the context of the convention.
And talk to me about budget and timelines, Anzio.
I think that in terms of the budget and timelines, you've seen this number has been fluctuating. South Africans are frustrated with a 800 million rand mark, a 700 million rand mark, And unfortunately, this is the doing of the media. The information is simply incorrect. The total budget for the dialogue process is yet to be determined because South Africans are still deciding on what the modality of that is going to look like. Certainly, many South Africans would have heard and seen the statement that I made about a week ago. Around 20 million was my guesstimate for the national convention. And if memory serves, I think we might have even come in below that. I think what's important to say to South Africans is that we as the convention organizing committee have made a commitment to transparency. We do want to put those numbers out into the public, and they will be part of the report that is being formulated that should be out before the end of the month. We are consolidating the processes currently, and that includes the process of the steering committee, which was one of the key outputs of the first convention.
And yeah, I've got to go to sports. Is it still a legitimate conversation with all of the people having pulled out and political parties pulled out as well?
I would think so. As an ordinary South African, I would be greatly disturbed if my voice was not a legitimate one. I think anybody's voice that is a South African and in this context is a legitimate one. And even the foundations who have echoed their sentiment with one another around us not being sufficiently prepared and not doing things the right way, I believe their voices are legitimate too. And so I think if we keep on legitimizing the voices of all South Africans, we will certainly have a fruitful process.
Jon Gericke is a National Dialogue Civil Society Caucus and a member of the Convention and Executive Director of the Zabalaza Pathway. Thank you very much.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Are Sundowns a little worried, Zai?
What do they need, John?
To beat Pirates or magic. They need magic. Yeah, to beat Pirates is difficult. Eh?
Yeah, Pirates is coming for them. But anyway, their coach Miguel Cardoso, he's keen to temper excitement after that 1-1 draw to Orlando Pirates. First leg of their MTN8 semi-final. Cardoso refused to see this result as an advantage purely because of the valuable away goal.
He was stating that we lost a match. No, we didn't lost any match. There's a draw, and it doesn't sense me as a loss. Obviously that we would like to take it home a victory, but if you would ask any coach that will come to play here, if you would before the match take it a 1-1, I would not say that I would be comfortable, but I would also not say that it would be discomfortable.
Meanwhile, Sekhukhune United coach Eric Tinkler says his side paid the price for too many errors in their 2-0 MTN8 semi-final first-leg defeat to Stellenbosch in a rain-soaked Dani Craven Stadium. He also pointed to the heavy surface.
I think ultimately the second balls, because there were quite a few of those that happened in this game, because of the long ball being played by both teams, because of the condition of the pitch. You couldn't always try and play to feet. I thought they dealt with the second balls a lot better than us, you know. Some of it was down to aggression, but I think other reasons was more in terms of the players' ability to play forward and run forward, you know. We don't do that enough, you know, and then defensively our recovery this evening wasn't good enough. So we weren't there to pick up the second balls.
Elsewhere, Mikel Arteta all smiles after Arsenal defeated Manchester United 1-0 in their opening Premier League match of the season.
Yes, because we showed it in a different way today. I think we did two things very well. One, to take the set piece and then react to especially mistakes. Some of them unnecessary, some of them unusual. But the way every single player reacted to that gave us the opportunity to win the game. If not, it's impossible. And that's about how we compete and how much you want it, as you said.
Crystal Palace holding Chelsea to a goalless draw at Stamford Bridge. Now, rugby in a stunning reversal at Ellis Park, the Springboks surrendered a commanding 22-0 half-time lead to go down 38-22 to Australia, capping a historic second-half capitulation. Coach Rassie Erasmus didn't mince his words.
You know, we want to get the Ethan Hookers in, we want to get a Kane in the start, we want to get a Krappies and so on to start. But you know, we'll have to rethink it. I don't think they tactically just outsmarted us. I think they also physically dominated us. And you know, not the worrying thing, but the interesting thing is the longer the game went on, you know, they're supposed to struggle at altitude, but it just shows what Joe is building there, and we were always nervous about that.
And finally, the new UFC middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev dethroned Dricus du Plessis, with the South African graciously accepting defeat. After 5 rounds at the United Center in Chicago, the judges delivered a unanimous decision in favor of the Russian. That's a wrap. We'll be back. More sport, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 3 buses and a trailer belonging to bus company Greyhound have been burnt at the company's depot in Jet Park in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. A 32-year-old man from Eldorado Park, south of Johannesburg, accused of assaulting and raping his 4-year-old daughter, is today expected to apply for bail in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto. And the matter on the burial of former Zambian President Edgar Lungu is back in the Pretoria High Court this morning. The Lungu family is in court for leave to appeal the full judgment, which ruled that the Zambian government is entitled to repatriate the former president's body to his home country. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a very busy Monday, as you would be expecting. Delays coming down Joburg's N3 southbound from Montefontaine Road. It's all jammed up on the run into Galilees. R21 is pretty heavy today, airport bound. If you're coming through from Pretoria to the airport, it's backlogging from Tembisa, from about Engine down through Bobsfontein, all the way down to that Benoni exit. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through that. The Mike 1's fairly extra, with delays from Boyson's all the way up towards Melrose. Delays up towards sort of Caller Drive, Athol Oaklands territory this morning. Crash on the southern bypass, the N12, going towards Soweto, just by Uncle Charlie. So queue back towards Xavier Street, and some delays on the main road in from Lone Hill down to Bryanston. Traffic lights there are offline this morning. Main and Witkoppen, and Main and Sloane. So you just, if you've done that before without traffic lights, you'll know what you're in store for there. The Pretoria side today, the N4 inbound from Watermeyer Street down towards the M1 highway. You're heading to the highway or Hatfield. It's all very badly backed up. Durban, the taxi crash that overturned, or the taxi that overturned in that crash on the N2 South going into Kumashi, still there. Really big delays from Gateway. Really big delays coming off the N2 at Gateway on the M41, all the way down towards the M4. And the M4 from the top of Mhlanga, taking all that extra diverting volume very slowly on your way down to sort of Durban North. Also a crash coming out of Durban on the N3 at Spaghetti Junction. That's a heavy queue back through Sherwood today. And Cape Town, really extreme misty conditions from Khayelitsha up through Kales River, Brackenfell, out through to Kraaifontein. You'll hardly be able to see where you're going on some of those routes, so a lot of traffic disruption around that. There's also a crash on the Tygerberg Road leaving Durbanville down towards Richwood, that by the Bloomendale Wine Farm, and Marine Drive and Racecourse Road. Lights out as you come out of Tableview on the way to Milnerton. The backlog extreme all the way up to Sunningdale, almost to Sandown Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Morning again to Ntaoleng Lachela. What's been happening with Barlow World? There was a deal made?
Yes, that's right, John. Now, the Competition Tribunal has given the green light to the proposed 20 billion rand management-led buyout of Barlow World, a milestone in the transaction that has faced pushback. As part of the agreement, employees will receive a sizable stake in the group, and historically disadvantaged persons will hold a collective 13.5% shareholding in the company. Now, the tribunal's approval comes with conditions, including a 2-year moratorium on retrenchments at Barlow World's South African operations and the implementation of 2 phases of HDP transactions. Now, US-based earth-moving equipment manufacturer Caterpillar, which is a key supplier to Barlow World, has expressed support to the bid, and Standard Bank has guaranteed a maximum of 17 billion rands of the purchase price, while Rothschild & Co. has deemed the offer fair and reasonable. The PIC, a major shareholder in the company, initially opposed the deal, but later came on board after the consortium committed to a triple BEE transaction addressing concerns about inclusivity. Now, with this approval from competition authorities, the consortium is one step closer to taking Barlow World private. The offer is currently open until the 11th of September, but it may be extended.
And Sibanye is coming out with some numbers today.
Well, it's an update where they are forecasting a rise in profits, and this will be driven by improved profitability from its local gold and PGM operations, as well as better results from its US PGM operations after restructuring. The company's gold earnings have particularly benefited from a 36% increase in the average rand gold price. Despite this positive outlook, though, Sibanye will still report a basic loss per share, although this loss is narrower than the one reported in the first half of 2024. Now, the difference between its headline earnings and basic loss is due to impairment charges linked to the company's US PGM operations and its Calibre lithium project in Finland. The impairment charge for the US PGM operations stems from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law in July, which phases out tax credits for critical minerals from 2031 to 2034. Now, Sibanye had previously expected these credits to continue under the Inflation Reduction Act, and the change has resulted in an impairment loss. The Calibre lithium project, in the meantime, the impairment there is due to lower expected lithium prices. Markets not really happy with this update, and this sent the share price lower in Friday's session.
And what's happening in the markets now?
Now, Asian markets are kicking the top of the week in the green. Chinese stocks leading the gains, with the Shanghai Composite up almost 1.3%. Traders on that front focused on geopolitical issues, with attention shifting to upcoming talks between Zelensky and Trump. Ahead of that meeting, futures in the US are in positive territory. Also under the spotlight in the US is the Jackson Hole meeting, where we'll see finance ministers and members of the Fed meeting, and Powell will be delivering an address. Also, earnings from big retailers, including Walmart, likely to keep investors on their toes this week. Earnings season also picking up here at home, and traders eyeing banking earnings. ABSA out with the results later this week. Just on that, reflecting on how the JSE fared, though the all-share closed flat in last week's session on Friday. It was down 0.02%. The rand, in the meantime, this morning trading stronger, benefiting from a softer dollar. It's at 17.57 to the greenback. And then zooming in on the oil market, prices are on the back foot this hour, with oil trading under the $65 per barrel mark.
Darling Lachella, thank you very much. Plenty business coming up here on SAFM. Let's keep you updated with the markets throughout the day.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
It's 20 minutes to 8. We were hoping to talk to the KwaZulu-Natal Premier after Tammy Ntuli came under fire for remarks that human rights groups fear could fuel xenophobia. Unfortunately, the Premier is not answering their phone, but we are still trying. We'll keep trying to get hold of the Premier. Premier, if you're listening, switch your phone on, please. Ntuli claiming that 40% of pupils at one school where the children of foreign nationals was an isolated, unverified example. This is according to Mike Ndlovu, spokesperson for Kopanang Africa. Ndlovu saying that the national data showed that foreign-born pupils make up only 4.3% of South Africa's total school population. Also, the Premier going on about the health facilities. They said what we are saying about the human rights of residents in KwaZulu-Natal, the undocumented foreign nationals have taken away. Ntuli's statements are supported by March and March. And over the past several months, members of that organization have been stationed at the entrances of public hospitals, including Addington Hospital on the beachfront. They allowed those who produced South African IDs to enter health facilities, turned away those who didn't. So we are hoping to speak to the Premier. As I said, not answering the phone at the moment. We'll see if we can get the Premier before the end of the show. So, excuse me. I just swallowed a fly, I think. Let's start with phone calls. Let's go to Temba in Protea Glen. Let's see if Temba's there. Temba, good morning to you. What do you have to say about Gayton McKenzie?
How are you on a Monday?
Go ahead, Temba.
Yeah, regarding the Gayton McKenzie's comment, what concerns me is about the so-called delete post. Understand? I don't know, according to South African content, what does delete mean? Understand? Because instead of saying we have kept your post somewhere, they say your post is deleted. So I don't understand. We are living in the toxic country where you make a comment 2013 or 2000, but you've deleted the post 20 years back, and then when you are in a top position, all the comments that you've made 2000 year 2000 are still there, but if when such post it's been deleted. Understand? So I don't understand. We've been fooled here. What's going on? How can you say the post is deleted, but it's been all the messages are still kept somewhere there? Understand?
Yeah, that's the thing about the internet, Temba. It doesn't really go away, does it?
It's really unfair. I don't condone whatever Gayton McKenzie has conveyed regarding the whatever that he said about black people, but what is unfair to say the post is deleted, and they should come and explain to us the people who speak English fluently. What does delete mean?
Well, you see that there's a post on X, and you can hit the delete button and make it go away. But what happens is people screen grab those posts before they are deleted, and then they are shared. Then the screen grab of that post is shared.
No, if that is the case, then Gayton McKenzie must face the music for whatever that is.
Well, those are the 5 things. Those are the 5 things he's been asked to do: delete them, apologize, refrain from doing it again.
But if they extract such information that Gayton McKenzie believes he deleted decades ago, to change his name regarding standing up against the governing party, that by extracting such information that is deleted to use it against Gayton McKenzie, that's totally wrong.
Right.
You cannot extract that information regarding to stop Gayton McKenzie for taking on ANC. Understand? Because ANC is fumbling. So Gayton McKenzie is standing up against the ANC. That is why they are doing that.
Okay. Politically motivated. Is that what you're saying? Temba in Protea Glen saying it's politically motivated. Warren in Stutterheim, you want to talk about it's a horrific story. What's happening?
Good morning, John and listeners. 2 things, please. This gentleman, I must say gentleman because I don't want to be rude, that is applying for bail. He beat up his child. The young girl died.
In El
and
Dorado
he beat
Park.
up his son. No bail. Thank you very much, no bail. But secondly, and this is more important, the women of this country, women, and I talk about females, women from young children to elderly women, are being raped. And there is one solution to this, and the solution is chemical castration of these offenders. And I'll give you the reasons why. It lowers the testosterone. That's the first thing. So he hasn't this desire, to be sexually active as far as that goes. And it's not murder. It is chemical castration. The man is still alive, okay? However, this testosterone level, which I believe, and I'll talk under, I believe could be one of the reasons why these people rape. Forget
Rape
about
is
the drink
rape
side.
is not necessarily a sexual crime. It's a rape of power. So even if you are
Right,
castrated,
right. Now,
you can still sexually assault a woman.
Yes, but John, if the person's testosterone, and we should go into this, and I think this is a very serious thing, and it's not funny. Let the ladies come on. Let the ladies of South Africa start phoning in and giving their opinion. Okay, I'm a man. I'm 82. I don't know how these people can actually live with themselves when they've done that.
All right,
Rape
Warren,
somebody.
you've raised the point, and you've given your solution. And I think it's an interesting point. Unfortunately, we don't have time for that now. But I think some of the evening shows where we have time, we've got 20 minutes to have these conversations, is definitely a great idea to talk about. And as you say, the woman's perspective is so very important, especially over Women's Month as well. So yeah, I think hopefully the producers of the shows where we have time, they'll be able to have these kind of conversations. Let's go to Crispin in Durban. Go ahead, Crispin. What do you have to say?
John, on Friday, Jacinta Zuma told to Lesizwe that nobody'd been able to tell her how she and Martin March were breaking the law. Well, in fact, I've interacted with these people. They have no clue as to the law. She's, been expensively educated, I'm sure. She should know what the Constitution says. Let me spell it out to you. The Constitution, Section 27, says everyone has the right of access to healthcare facilities. Everyone means what it says, everyone, and that no one may be denied emergency medical treatment. These groups are obviously violating the law. They're violating the law in the same way that a taxi grouping decides that people can only have one passenger in a car, or that people decide that to kill an e-hailing driver. These are violations of the law where a group decides to impose on society their own reading of what they call the law. It's simply their own rules that they enforce on people.
If a person is in the country illegally, are they still deemed a person?
Absolutely, yeah. They absolutely, without any shadow of doubt. Now, that doesn't address the issue of the migration policy. The difficulty is corruption and migration, all of that.
Yes.
But the Constitution is clear. And one reason is this. If we start barring certain people, like South Africans without IDs, for example, from healthcare facilities, infectious diseases can spread like wildfire. Whose interests are they really serving then? Because we as South Africans are entitled to protection against infectious diseases. That's why we have a health system. You can't link the health system to complicated issues of law. And in reality, March and March are not about the law in any way. They will see people coming towards them and start shouting, "You're not allowed in here." They don't know if they're here legally, whether they're South Africans or not. They just decide by the look of people, you can't come here.
So
these people,
you're putting the blame squarely on March and March, which is your prerogative. But can we blame the security forces as well, security services, for them, as you say, making sure that people aren't coming into the country legally, that people are being vetted before, so that they are legitimized before they go to the health systems?
Look, I think what we can blame is the the ineffectiveness of government in so many different ways and the toleration that is, I mean, we see the elites corrupt in our faces. And this, if March and March were saying, let's never tolerate corruption from the elites, well, then we'd be making real progress on this. But that corruption has seeped through the whole system. So Home Affairs, we know what happens with Home Affairs. That our policies need to be developed with a human face to them at every level. And that would mean much better and more thoughtful and more effective policing and control.
Crispin is in Durban. Thank you very much for your call. 086 000 2032. Let's take some voice notes. We're going to go back a little bit to this morning. Let's see what you have to say this morning.
Morning, John. It's Vugani from Devon. I hear that the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Tamintuli, has come under fire from so-called human rights organizations for the comments he made about illegal immigration. I would urge him to stand firm on what he said, because that's exactly what people who elected the current government want. So whatever those organizations are saying, when they were not elected, the politicians were elected, and they should listen to the electorate. Thank you.
Hello, John. Good morning. Look, man, I must say that I personally feel that there is a smell of fresh air with this Africa Mazibuya of Floyd Shibamvu. And big up, we've been observing and we are seeing a very big amount of people in all provinces, particularly KZN and Gauteng. We are seeing an overwhelming amount of people who are attending this thing, who are really consulting and coming back with feedback that they want this party. So we thank you for Floyd and we wish good luck. This is Romeo from the Northwest. We can't wait for your party here in the Northwest, buddy. Thank you.
I raised this earlier, and I'm wondering where Floyd Shivambu's electorate will come from. Because there are only so many people in the country. Do you think this is people who weren't voting, which will be a fascinating perspective, those that decided to not vote? Remember, that's quite a large constituent, actually, in South Africa. Will Floyd be taking away from the EFF and MK party? Will he be taken from the ANC? It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. Where are we going? Driver's license machine.
Morning, Brajon, your team and SAFM listeners. Brajon, I would like to know about this license machine that always broken. Hey, Brajon, are these guys looking for a machine outside the country, or are they looking for any solution that could help them? Because we are here to help. If they are looking for a solution, I think they can use the old-fashioned in the modern way. Simple as that, whereby we can save money and cost. Mr. Nomlala, Kabani, thank you.
We'll take more voice notes in a bit. Traffic first.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're airport bound coming out of Pretoria, just worth noting the roadworks today have flipped over to the southbound side, just approaching the Bubsfontein exit. So coming through from the engine, one stop, that's slow. And then there's a crash just after that between the Bubsfontein exit and the Benoni off-ramp. So R21 towards the airport is a heavy queue. Plenty of traffic on the N3 route this morning into Galuli's, northbound backed up from Alberton, southbound from Edensvale's Modderfontein Road. Crash involving a pedestrian fatality, unfortunately. Just a dip slip on the N14 on your way to Lansyria. That will queue you up for a little bit. And the N14 to Pretoria, very heavy this morning from the R55 Pretoria West exit up through Brockfontein all the way onto the M1 through to John Foster. Crash coming out of Durban this morning, causing chaos on the N3. The crash is at Spaghetti Junction, backlogging to Felix Clamini, the old Brickfield Road. A lot of traffic. It may be associated jamming up at 45th Cutting. Maybe motorists coming off at the M13 Sherwood Split and just running out in big volumes towards 45th Cutting, or maybe the lights are down there, but it is unusually heavy. And of course, the taxi taxi that flipped over this morning, M2 South, going into Komashu Highway, has caused mayhem in northern parts of Durban. The N2 South's under pressure. M41 coming off it down towards the M4. The M4 from Umhlanga down to Virginia Airport's heavy. Routes like Umhlanga Rocks Drive, all very, very slow and busy as well. Also unusual for this time of morning, delays coming up the N2 from top of 20 Hill area up into Prospect, and that's all quite a jam if you're leaving South Coast and Amanzimtoti. And then Cape Town, very heavy mist that is widespread this morning, but particularly from Khayelitsha up through Kales River, Brackenfell and Kraaifontein. All the routes that run through those areas are heavily backed up because you've got some real difficulty seeing where you're going. That mist, like I think we had early last week, is pretty severe and pretty heavy, so make sure you've got plenty of time to get through and get through safely. N1 inbound from Eustenburg, back through it all the way to Brackenfell, the R300 from Stellenbosch Arterial all the way up to the N1. There's also been a crash coming out of Durbanville. It's on the Tygerberg Road just by Bloomendale Wine Farm. There's a big delay this morning on your way slowly out of Durbanville towards Richwood. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
News coming up in 4 minutes or so from now. After the news, we're going to talk about a study by the Stellenbosch University on a correlation between alcohol consumption and residential fire incidents in the city of Cape Town. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. And I think we've got a voice note helping me out with my constitution question.
John, morning. In the context of South Africa, when you refer to a constitution as saying everyone has a right to health care, you are referring to everyone in terms of even the groups that were excluded previously. Everyone, including everybody in South Africa who was previously excluded from these services, not people who are here illegally. No. Utamintule is great. Utamintule, all right. And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Gabela, you want to talk about healthcare access as well?
Yes, I'm John. Yep. I'm Gabela in Appleton.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's time that some of us should go and drink tea with Thabo Mbeki and Geraldine Fraser-Moleketi and Jacob Zuma. Because all of them, in the heydays of our party, they stayed in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Angola. They used their resources for us such that we should have our freedom. Now, when we have our freedom, and we've been pointing finger to them, there was the minister, the senior minister of NEC, who was calling it that woman was coming into the country because she won health care. It is high time that democratic parties with their political powers in South Africa, they should be shut down. Help our people are across the borders. Helping out these clinics across the borders, helping our people go there. To those doctors who do not have jobs. Ask the give us Salvation Army to help them across in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. They use their money so that we should have our freedom. Now we do have our freedom later. Some born free and happy chappies, political happy chappies and petty parties with their political squabbles, be pointing fingers to our people who helped us so many years. Yeri, John, I'm very, very angry with these things. Help our people. Or rather, it's high time that all of these liberation movements come together and leave their selfish, self-centered neuroticness because they are rich. Each and everyone go start their own party. Now, because they are rich.
Yeah.
And the people of our country have, and the neighboring countries, or rather Africa, or rather the World Health Organization, should come and give advice. And this tyrants and autocrats who's still sitting for life, some of them even 98 years, contesting for elections. They haven't gone away.
Mr. Gabela in Uppington on healthcare access. Let's change tack a little bit. Tack. Let's hear about SA Rugby.
Hi, John. Errol here from Durban. Hope you're well, my friend. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Playing against weak teams doesn't improve our rugby like Italy and Georgia. We need stronger opposition. And it showed up on Saturday that we haven't had really strong competition. I mean, Australia had their Lions, which are a strong side, and look how it improved their rugby. New Zealand had the French. Look how it improved their rugby. They beat the Pumas 44-6. And what happened to you like a banana boy like me? What happened to the Sharks and the Currie Cup? I don't know. They lost a lot of their books, but so did the other provinces. Errol, Durban.
Errol, you're cutting deep there. That's deep. Sharks. As a Sharks fan, it hurts. It's exactly 8 o'clock on SAFM. We're going to take more voice notes. There's plenty on Gayton McKenzie, also the Human Rights Commission and illegal immigration. All of that's still coming up. It's 8 o'clock, time for the news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, a probe into a fire at Jet Park bus depot and murder and rape accused Eldorado Park father to apply for bail. Good morning. 3 buses and a trailer belonging to bus company Greyhound have been destroyed in a fire at the company's depot in Jet Park in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. The cause of the fire that happened yesterday is not yet known. No injuries were reported. The Ekurhuleni Emergency Services spokesperson Eric Maloka says firefighters managed to contain the fire.
2 buses managed to escape the fire and were driven to a safer area. No injuries were reported during and after the operation, and the cause of the fire is still unknown and remains the subject of investigation by our fire safety officials.
A 32-year-old man from Eldorado Park, south of Johannesburg, accused of assaulting and raping his 4-year-old daughter, is today expected to apply for bail in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto. The little girl died in hospital due to her injuries. 3 more charges have been added against him. He's also accused of physically assaulting the girl's 2-year-old brother. The NPA spokesperson Pindim Jonondwane says the man now faces 5 charges.
With the case against the father is now facing 5 charges. We've added 3 additional charges to the 2 that he was facing on his first appearance, which is that of rape, compelled rape, murder, child abuse, as well as assault on a minor child.
A 28-year-old man who allegedly raped a 12-year-old girl last year at Hamagau outside Louis Trichardt is expected to appear in court today. The victim, who lived with her father, was alone at home when the suspect entered the house and raped her. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashaba says the father returned home and managed to identify the man before he fled. Mashaba says the man was arrested on Friday after he had been on the run since the incident.
According to police reports, the suspect had been on the run until when he was finally cornered and apprehended on Friday, the 15th of August 2025, while in Makhado town at around 12:30. This follows an intelligence-led operation. The suspect is expected to appear before Chilavsiku Magistrate Court on Monday, the 18th of August 2025, facing a charge of rape.
The president of trade union AMCU, Joseph Matundra, says they will join the national dialogue only if it can call for a referendum to amend the constitution of the country. The national convention took place at the University of South Africa in Pretoria over the weekend in preparation for the national dialogue to be held next year. Addressing a gathering to mark the 13th anniversary of the Marikana massacre near Rustenburg in the northwest on Saturday, Matundra labelled the national dialogue a convenient scam.
If the national dialogue is serious, we can join them if they can call for the referendum. 1, to amend the constitution. 2, to amend electoral system of this country. 3, to reset the country and come with a new political system. Then we can say, yes, we've got a crisis. But currently, we are not supporting the national dialogue. It's a convenient scam of making those who are super rich to be more rich.
And finally, the matter on the burial of former Zambian President Edgar Lungu is back in the Pretoria High Court this morning after it stood down on Friday. The Lungu family is in court for leave to appeal the full judgment, which ruled the Zambian government is entitled to repatriate the former president's body to his home country. On Friday, the Lungu family and the Zambian government informed the court that they would be discussing the matter in an attempt to resolve the dispute over his final resting place. Sibahle Mota reports.
The Pretoria High Court will hear if the Lungu family and the Zambian government have come to an agreement following a dispute over his burial. If both parties have not reached an agreement, then the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria is expected to proceed with the Lungu family's application for leave to appeal the entire full court judgment to the Supreme Court of Appeal. This after the Pretoria High Court ruled that the Zambian government could repatriate the late former president's body to his home country for a state funeral.
Recapping the top story, 3 buses and a trailer belonging to the bus company Greyhound have been destroyed in a fire at the company's depot in Jet Park in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Outsurance is simply the best at beating their best. Outsurance scores 9.99 on the Hello Peter Trust Index, a near 5-star rating on Google Reviews, and have outperformed their personal best on the number of complaints per 1,000 claims referred to the Ombudsman. Switch to the insurer that delivers on price, service, and trust. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. It's soccer news. We're building up to Coach Molefe Nseki. He's banking on experience as Bafana face a must-win clash against Uganda. And that's a Chan action that we're looking forward to. And there's also news from the awards where Simone Kruger celebrating her 2 South Africa Sport Awards nominations. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, leaving Pretoria on your way to OR Tambo for flight connections under pressure. Today, roadworks have flipped over to the southbound side, approaching the R25 Bapsfontein exit. So that's queue number 1. And then once you get through that, there's a crash between Bapsfontein and the Benoni exit. That is queue number 2, but it's effectively joined up from Engine down towards the crash scene. There's also a collision on the Mike 1 North near Houghton Drive. So traffic coming out from Boyson is very heavy all the way through to that Parktown area. Collision on the N12 at Uncle Charlie's, holding traffic coming through from Xavier Street side today. Fatal pedestrian crash at Dipsford. If you're on your way along the N14 towards Lanseria Airport, there is a delay to work through there as well. Durban coming out of town on the N3, an earlier crash at Spaghetti Junction, still queuing traffic. Inbound's pretty heavy from Paradise Valley, moving through towards Spaghetti Junction as well. Crash on the N2 South at Kumashu, still causing a delay from as far back as Gateway. The M41 off the N2 at Gateway down towards the M4 is heavy. The M4 between Umhlanga and Blue Lagoon, both ways jam-packed. Umhlanga Rocks Drive through the middle there is also under quite a bit of pressure as well. Cape Town still dealing with a crash on the Tygerberg Road. This is leaving Durbanville towards Richwood, just by the Bloomendale Wine Farm. That's quite a heavy delay. Lights are out. Marine Drive at Racecourse Road. It's heavy coming along the coast out of Tableview side. I think a lot of motorists avoiding that and jamming up below Berg Road down towards the Kuberg Road instead. And very heavy and significant mist this morning around Kales River, Brackenfell, Kryfontein. All routes in the area are busy. The mist is heavy. Make sure you got time to get through it and get through safely. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's 9 minutes past 8. Jon Gericke in for Tula Sizwe. Good morning to you. It's a Monday. The work week has officially begun. Coming up in a moment, we're going to find out about this research between alcohol and fires in KwaZulu-Natal. We're going to find out from one of the researchers there at the University of Stellenbosch. And then also how mining companies in South Africa are under fire for failing to meet legal obligations regarding housing for their workers and the surrounding communities as well. David van Wyk is a researcher for the Benchmarks Foundation. All of that's coming up, but I did promise you a conversation with the KwaZulu-Natal Premier, Tommy Ntuli. That's up in a sec.
The boardroom heat is on and the pressure is rising. The Insurance Apprentice, hosted by the one and only Babi Moloi, is delivering drama, tough decisions, and big personalities every week. Expect bold moves, emotional twists, and contestants you'll either root for or roast. And yes, you'll be surprised what you learn about insurance along the way. Open up to The Insurance Apprentice, Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money, and then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
It's 11 minutes past 8. Let's talk to the KwaZulu-Natal Premier now. Come under fire for remarks that human rights groups fear could fuel xenophobia. KwaZulu-Natal Premier is Tami Mtuli. Premier, good morning to you. Are you fueling xenophobic fire?
Good morning, John, and to the listeners at home. Well, I'm not quite sure where the element of xenophobia will come in because our position and our message is that we have a serious problem of the undocumented foreign nationals in our province. Hence, we are calling to those who are here illegally to go and get papers so that they are here legally. But for those who are here illegally, we do not have a problem with them. They contribute in different ways. That is the only message we have. Hence, even for the group that was preventing the foreign nationals to access health services, we were, in fact, as government, straight in saying they need not to do that. They must not prevent them to access services. If they feel that they are here illegally, they must report to the police, because the police, they have a duty to do with Home Affairs for the deportation of those who are here illegally. So the element of being xenophobic, really, I think it would be a misinterpretation.
Do you believe that undocumented foreign nationals are entitled to free medical services?
Well, I think it's an issue which is quite complex because the budget that is allocated to the province is to serve the population which is recorded. And then when you see them in big numbers on the very same scarce resources, it becomes an issue. However, not to attend to anyone who is not well might pose a threat even to the general public of KwaZulu-Natal. Hence, is one thing which we have to follow what the Constitution says, that whoever comes to access services must be given services. But we are stressing on the issue of anyone who comes into the province that must be in South Africa legally. If he's not legally, must go back and get the papers if he or she wants to be part of the province.
Part of the problem is just the medical facilities aren't adequate. And I realize what you say about the budget, Premier, but doesn't it fall on you to make sure that the medical facilities are all up to standard and have enough facilities for all the people?
There will be enough for all the people who are registered, who are on the books as per the allocation, any provision that is made. You know that we are already under the fiscal pressure as a province. What I've mentioned to the public because of what happened previously. Then for the limited resources, it's important that they provide services to the people of the province and South Africa, and even to whoever is in the province, but who's here legally. That is why then we are insisting on the fact that we have to continue with our operations to look for those who are here illegally, who are employed, and ensure that we work with Home Affairs and the police to deport them.
So just to reiterate what you were saying about March on March and Operation Dudula, what are you saying they should not stop people from going to the hospitals, but they should rather report those individuals to the police?
Yeah, I'm of the view that whoever has a passion to ensure that law and order is maintained must also follow law, must also work with the police, must also work with Home Affairs, must work with the organs of the states. You see, when people are doing crime in an area and you decide to punish those people, or you go for vigilantism, that is also crime. So I'm of the view that the right approach is to work with the law enforcers so that everyone will abide with the law.
Mike Ndlovu, spokesperson for Africa, says that migrants still pay VAT, so they do pay taxes, and this free service abuse is just debunked, and they're not just abusing the system. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm not aware of any evidence of them paying any tax because.
Well, they're paying VAT when they buy products.
Well, what we also know is that we also have illicit goods, which are also brought by the very same people who conduct illegal activities in our province. In particular, as you know, it's common knowledge that you'll find things sold in spaza shops. I have, in fact, first-hand information wherein on operations we went with the police and we could discover people without papers of being here and having some of the illicit goods and the factory of the illicit goods, which is also affecting the GDP of the country, affecting the issue of the job opportunities. So it's a complex matter, this one, that require a clear understanding that is not only about being here illegal, but it's also about the economy, it's also about the job opportunities for the people of this country.
Part of the issue that's been raised, Premier, is where you said, and I'm going to say, you don't believe undocumented foreign nationals are entitled to free services just because of quote-unquote human rights. Is that a little worrying? Do you look back at that and think maybe I should have used different words?
Well, I'm of the view that the issue of a misinterpretation might have taken, or the misunderstanding of the message might in fact result to certain conclusions. As I've said, that in terms of the Constitution, you must do what the Constitution says you must do. However, at the same time, maintaining the statement that the resources that we have are scarce for the people of the province and in our country, is important that what is recorded to be provided services be what will enjoy the services, but we must give services to people as they come for the services, but while pursuing the operations of deporting them back into their countries.
You also raised the example about a school that had 40% of the pupils as foreign nationals. It's an unverified example. Can you tell us which school it is?
Well, it's one of the schools here in Umlazi, which the MEC reported that it has almost 40% of them. And we are not saying as government then for those learners must go out of the school. They are continuing to study in that school. But we still maintain, though, that being here illegal is not a good thing, is not a right thing. And then people ought to be deported back into their countries.
Premier, you'll know the Constitution better than I do. When we had a caller earlier saying that if you are an illegal in South Africa, what does the Constitution say about free medical services for somebody who is here illegally?
not for an illegal purpose. My understanding is that the Constitution provides for services to be given to whoever who comes for the service in the health services or government services, not being distinct on one who's illegal or not illegal. Hence, I'm saying because of that gray area, it's important that services are given to whoever who comes for the services, but at the same time, discouraging anyone who's in the province to be here illegally.
So, as the Premier, what are you going to do now? Are you going to increase the security system or increase the police around clinics to ensure that illegals are legitimized?
No, you see, we will engage with the society, we'll engage with even the March on March, so that we agree on the right approach to attend the issue of the illegal foreign nationals who are here in the province, because we need to work within the confines of the law while not, in fact, leaving the principal position that even in terms of our constitution, no one is supposed to be here illegal. That is why there is a provision, even nationally, that whoever is here illegally has to be taken back or to be deported back into his or her country. Then we will continue with the operations I've mentioned. We will continue with the operations of ensuring that whoever is here illegally is employed in our factories and our industries. We go there with the police, or the police go there so that with the Home Affairs, so that they are deported back into their countries.
And if there's an illegal foreigner right now that is really, really sick and wants to go to a hospital, what do you have to say to them?
Well, I'm saying to the service providers, our government departments, they must give services to people who comes for the services.
That's the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Tami Mtuli. Thanks very much.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Cello, Velencini, Debbie Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now. Jon Gericke on SAFM.
23 minutes past 8 o'clock. Fascinating research coming out of the Stellenbosch University, where they found a correlation between alcohol consumption and residential fire incidents in Cape Town. Let's talk to Dr. Natalia Flores-Quiros, who's a researcher at that university. Doc, thanks very much for joining us. What did you find, and this was particularly during the 2020 lockdown where alcohol was banned?
Hi, morning. Thanks for the invite. So we studied the number of residential fires in Cape Town during that period, during the alcohol ban, so pretty much the whole 2020. And we compared to the average number of fires that happened between 2015 and 2019. What we saw was a very, very big decrease on the number of fires in April, so right after the alcohol ban, a 32% decrease, which is pretty significant, I would say.
So you're the researcher. You just found that alcohol, it's just people being, I'm imagining, less drunk and being more sober around their fires, I guess.
So as you mentioned, we can't say alcohol is a fire cause because it's not directly, but it's a catalyst. So what happens is that people become a bit more irresponsible. And especially with cooking. I think we see that a lot. People starting to cook and then, I don't know, they put some oil in it and they sit because they're tired and then they fall asleep and then a fire starts.
How does this compare to the global numbers and stats?
It was interesting because at the same time you could say that there were so many measures taken during COVID that how do you know it was alcohol, right? But a similar research was conducted by other researchers in the world, where they studied cities like New York, San Francisco, London, and Tokyo. And what they saw, and the same methodology, right? 2020 versus 2015, the average between 2015 and 2019. And they saw that they didn't change. The number of fires was pretty much the same.
So do we know why South Africa would be different?
Well, the only difference in the measures was alcohol ban and the cigarette ban.
Oh,
so
because
that's why we
other
could
countries didn't do that.
No. I think so. South Africa, as far as I know, was the only country that banned alcohol, right?
Does that so? Would you advocate for banning of alcohol?
Oh, no, I don't think. I think everyone would hate me. But no, I think it's. So what we saw here is a unique opportunity, right? I think we have known, and the firefighters know, even the communities know, that alcohol is a catalyst of residential fires. The thing is that we never had the data to show it. So I think, first of all, this brings important data that you can bring into communities and say, you know, it's not that we just think about this, it's more like it's proven, or there is research that supports this. But no, I don't think we should ban alcohol. I think we should probably be more responsible.
Oh, and targeting safety interventions. If we know this thing leads to this thing, then you got some way to control it.
Exactly. It's like when you say don't drive if you drink, it's pretty much don't cook if you drink.
Don't cook and do a campaign around it, I guess, wouldn't help it.
Yes. I think the main thing that we could do with this research is create awareness and bring some support to things that we already think were happening, but now we can have some numbers, to back it up.
Doc, I was just thinking back to those dark times when we weren't allowed to buy a wine. I know that I had stockpiled some alcohol, so it's not like people didn't have a ways and means to get a beer or a couple of vodkas.
Yeah, no, that's true. So we said the alcohol ban happened, but we're not 100% sure. I mean, we're not saying that no one had alcohol during that time, right? Especially during the second and the third, and I don't know how many alcohol bans there were. But that's why, and that's interesting as well, because if you see the numbers, the decrease, that 30% decrease was seen in April, so right after the first one, while for the second and the third, the numbers didn't. Like, for example, in July, the numbers pretty much the same as the average, and in December it decreased a bit, but it wasn't as significant as what happened in April, which shows that people were more prepared for those alcohol bans.
Yeah, right. We saw it was coming. All right, Dr. Natalia Flores-Quiros, thank you very much for doing that research. Let's see what comes out of it. The doc is a researcher at the University of Stellenbosch.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Chan tonight. Zai, what's happening?
Hey, wearing our green and gold. We always want to make some noise.
Maybe one win this weekend.
One, please. Can our B team at least make the A grade? Come on. But you know what? Coach Molefe Nseki is giving respect because he knows his players have the experience to steer them through tonight's must-win Chan group clash against the host Uganda at the Mandela National Stadium. South Africa is sitting third in Group C with 5 points, one behind the log-leading Cranes, and need this victory.
So they're also looking forward to the last game. So it's not going to be easy for any of the teams that will be playing on Monday. Whether Algeria versus Niger, whether Uganda versus South Africa, it will be a very interesting closing day for our group on Monday. So, like I said, we give respect to every team that we play against.
And you can catch the action live on SABC Sport. Rugby, the Boland Cavaliers continuing their remarkable 2025 Currie Cup campaign with a 28-20 win over the Bulls in Wellington yesterday, marking their third consecutive victory and placing them in the race for the semi-finals. Golf, Herman Loubser joined the long list of illustrious winners on the Vodacom Origins of Golf series. He beat Yurav Premlal on the first hole of a sudden death playoff. All happened at the Paris Golf and Country Estate yesterday. Onto athletics, Britain's Keely Hodgkinson set an 800-metre world lead in her first race since winning gold at the Paris Olympics. The 23-year-old set a new meeting record of 1 minute 54.74 seconds to finish clear of Kenya's Lilian Odira and with Botswana's Oretile Noe finishing third. On to motorsport news. Marc Marquez super happy to claim his first ever win at the Red Bull Ring. He raced to victory in the Austrian MotoGP. It was his 9th win of the season, stretching his lead at the top of the championship standings. The Ducati rider who started 4th on the grid, he swept past the pole sitter Marco Bezzecchi, and that was at lap 20, pulling away for his 6th successive victory. Rookie Firmin Aldegar closed on him in the final laps, but had to settle for second, the best result of his fledgling career, with Bezzecchi completing the podium. South Africa's Brad Binder finishing in 7th. Here's the race winner, Marc Marquez.
I was using too much the rear tire because when you are behind somebody, I couldn't brake as I want, and then I was using more the rear tire in the exit of the corner. For that reason, in the middle of the race, I just give up a bit and breathe, and then attack again in the last laps. But I didn't expect, we can say, outsider that arrived from nowhere with amazing pace, and Aldeguer was pushing a lot in the end.
And that's a wrap. Jon Gericke will be in the fast lane around 12:30 with more sport. I'm Zaikad.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, police are still on the hunt for suspects who shot and killed 2 brothers outside St. Mary's Church in the south of Durban on Saturday. The brothers were attending their uncle's funeral. 3 buses and a trailer belonging to bus company Greyhound have been destroyed in a fire at the company's depot in Jet Park in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. And the DA wants the Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille to urgently account to Parliament following the precautionary suspension of the South African Tourism CEO Nombulelo Kuliwe. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Couple of issues leaving Pretoria this morning. One is a crash on the M1 South at Linwood Road. That's quite a heavy queue all the way back through the N4. Witbank Highway and getting back towards Stormful Road. Then if you're exiting Pretoria en route to the airport, roadworks are flicked over to the southbound side, so delays getting into Bupsfontein Road, and then a crash between Bupsfontein Road and Benoni. So quite heavy on that airport-bound carriageway. Joburg's N1 still slow from Beyers Nordia around to Rivonia Road. The Mike one this morning has come off the N1 Buccleuch, pretty slow through Woodmead, Marlborough Drive down to about Corlett Drive before you're out of that traffic. Durban, the situation on the N2 South is all sort of sorted out. All lanes are open at that crash going into KwaMashu, so the big delays through the region have eased up. The N2 is starting to flow. The M4 is still the hangover with delays between Umhlanga and Virginian Airport and the Durban North area. Still very heavy on that route first into Durban this morning. N3 inbound, jam-packed from Pavilion Mall to Spaghetti Junction. Outbound, there's a crash at 4 level, causing a slowdown on your way out of Durban. And Cape Town, really heavy mist this morning, lingering around the Brackenfell and Kraaifontein areas. The M1 inbound, for example, all the way back to Justenburg, routes like Brackenfell Boulevard, Okavango Road, 300 North. Those busy routes are under pressure because of the poor visibility. And still no traffic lights on Marine Drive at a Racecourse Road. The traffic leaving Tableview is back beyond the Bayside Mall and back to Sunningdale area. That's a heavy run through. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
27 minutes to 9 o'clock. Ntauling Lachela joins us again. And I see foot and mouth disease, still a big problem.
That's right, John, and the red meat industry continues to struggle with the outbreak. The industry's rep told News 24 that the situation is out of control. Despite this, there's hope for improvement with the potential availability of vaccines. Currently, vaccines are being imported from Botswana, but James Faber, departing chairperson of the Red Meat Producers Organization, emphasizes that this supply is not enough. Now, Faber says he is optimistic, though, and he's optimistic that the state's vaccine distributor will begin distributing FMD vaccines by the end of March next year. The state confirmed this with the Deputy Director General of Agricultural Production, Biosecurity and Natural Resources, Dipepeneneng Serage, saying that the Agricultural Research Council will start producing vaccines with distributions set to begin in March. In addition, the organization says if a large-scale vaccination program is implemented, FMD could be brought under control within the next 18 months.
And what's happening between Vodacom and Massive?
Yeah, so the Vodacom Massive deal has been under the spotlight as they've been dealing with the back and forth with the Competition Commission. Now, the acquisition of Vodacom's acquisition, that is, of a 30% stake in Massive has cleared another hurdle. Competition Appeal Court has granted approval for the transaction. The court conditionally approved the deal subject to revised conditions proposed by the merger parties and the Competition Commission. Now, this development brings the transaction closer to completion pending unconditional approval from ICASA. Vodacom and Remgro, the parent company of Massive, have been working to finalize the deal since its announcement in November 2021. The deal has faced challenges, including rejection by the Competition Tribunal in October last year, but the Competition Commission later reached an agreement with Massive on revised conditions that addressed competition concerns. Now, the merger is expected to boost fiber infrastructure investment in the country, with Vodacom committing to invest 14 billion rands in digital infrastructure and creating about 10,000 jobs. Massive has also pledged to spend at least 10 billion rands over the next 5 years, including rolling out fiber to low-income areas.
And what's happening in the markets this morning?
So local markets are likely to start the week in the green. It's a busy day in terms of company news. Results out from MTN and Tungela Resources. So lots for traders to digest at the open. In the meantime, the rand making a U-turn and trending lower this hour, back above the 1760 level. It's at 1762 to the greenback. Over on the commodities scene, the Trump-Putin summit that seemed to have went well has triggered the Trump-Putin summit that seemed to have went well, somewhat triggered an oil price drop, but we are seeing prices stabilize this hour. Oil is back above the $65 per barrel mark. And then back to equities, U.S. futures trending higher today. Focus on that front shifts to consumers' purchasing power as we await results from big retailers. Then lastly, in Asia, stocks are on track to close the day, the first day of the week, in positive territory.
Ntaoleng Lachela, thank you very much. She'll be back again tomorrow here on the Morning Brief on SAFM.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Should we take voice notes? 0614 104 107 is the voice note number.
Good morning, John. I'm Svito in Watema. The Premier is spot on. We need people like him from the authority who's going to speak truth. These people shouldn't be here, let alone accessing our free services. The time to sanitize our language now, trying to be political correct, is over. These people shouldn't be here if they are illegally in the country. Thank you.
Jon Gericke, you know, a lot of people, the moment they've voted in, I'm listening to this guy from KZN. They started to think they owning the people who voted them in. They give them their own laws and so on and so on. The illegal immigrants, they're supposed not to get anything from this country. Don't listen to that guy.
There's a couple of your views. We'll play more voice notes. We'll take your calls as well. It's 20 to 9.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
Jon Gericke in for Tulas. Mining companies operating in South Africa under fire for failing to meet legal obligations regarding housing for their workers and surrounding communities. A researcher for the Benchmarks Foundation is David van Wyk. David, thank you very much for joining us. What are the legal obligations for mining companies and housing?
Sibanya, in the case of Marikana, in 2007, we published a report in which they indicated that they were going to build, according to their social and labor plan, 5,000 houses. They only built 3. By 2012, it was still only 3. And we are now sitting in 2024, and I think there's about 8 or 9 houses that have been built out of 5,000 houses. Now, why do you have a social and labor plan if you're not going to apply it? You know, social and labor plan is part of the social license to operate. It's also part of the mining right that you have, that you must have a social and labor plan and you must have an environmental impact assessment and management plan and so on. It doesn't help that we afford licenses to mining companies, but we don't hold them accountable in terms of their licenses to operate.
Just before we even get into the houses that they're not building, we've got reports that South African miners earn less as well. So even being able to buy a house independently is impossible.
Well, yes, they give their workers a living out allowance of 2,000 rands a month, and very often the mines are located far from the townships and so on. And in the townships, there's a waiting list for RDP houses, and very often the mine workers are migrants, they are foreign, and so they don't qualify for the list, and so they end up in squatter camps. They don't qualify for the RDP housing lists and so on that are in the nearest township and so on. And so the other thing is that they get about, an American miner gets, a South African miner gets about 30% of what an American miner gets. Now, the thing is that these commodities are sold globally, you know, so that the mines get the same price wherever they are. So if they pay South African workers less, the profit margin is so much bigger because, you know, they cut down on labor costs in the South African context. So we want to see a situation where there's equal pay for equal work, whether it's Australia, Canada, or South Africa, because the CEOs get equal pay for equal work.
So, I mean, I've heard many stories of South Africans that go and mine overseas because it's just more lucrative for them.
Yes, it is. If you go and work in Australia now, you make about 1.5 million a year.
Sure.
A South African mine worker, ordinary mine worker, gets about 100,000, less than 100,000 a year.
Wow. You mentioned a couple of examples at the beginning before I managed to put you on, David van Wyk. But 70% of mining companies failing to meet these commitments?
Well, yes, I think that the problem is that the DMRE has a problem. They don't have sufficient staff, and very often the staff are on the take as well. You know, so when communities complain to the DMRE about the issues of housing and other aspects of the social and labor plan of a mining company, they will send people out to come and speak to the community and so on, but nothing ever gets done. You know, it doesn't help that we write a report in 2007. We come back in 2012. We find I can take a picture of the same spilling sewage drain. The drain is spilling because there are too many people in the household. The people in the household rent out back rooms to mine workers, and the mine workers all use the same toilet. So the sewage system gets overloaded. Now, I come back there in 2012, I find the same drain spilling. I can take exactly the same photograph. I come back there in 2024, August last year, I take a picture of exactly the same drain still spilling. And the reason why it's spilling is because the system is overloaded because the mine has shifted. There are 30,000 workers, mostly living in hostels. They changed the hostels into family accommodation. They only accommodate 3,000 people now. The other surplus now is in the informal settlement next to the mine. You know, if we look at Australia, for example, mine workers get flown in from wherever they are, the migrants. They get flown in. They've got accommodation that is serviced accommodation. They get 3 meals a day. They've got cable TV, and they've got sport and recreation facilities. There's no mine in South Africa that provides anything like that. And in the Australian case, you're 1 week off and 3 weeks on. So you get flown home for a week, and then you come back again. In South Africa, you get into a taxi to go back to the Eastern Cape or Lesotho or wherever you come from. You know, the other thing is...
Sorry, go ahead. The Minerals Council has failed to comment on this report. Are you getting any feedback at all?
At the moment, not. You know, we were quite shocked this time because all our other reports, we invited the Minerals Council to this one. They came to all previous launches. We invited DMRE. They came to all previous launches. We invited the mining company. They came to all previous launches. This time not, but we will certainly put pressure on them now, because what we're going to do this week is we're now going to submit letters to all of them indicating that we've launched this report. These are our findings and we actually want a response.
That's David van Wyk, researcher for the Benchmarks Foundation. Put it on the radio as well. Mining companies not meeting their legal obligations regarding housing for their workers. What do you make of that? Give us a call, 086 000 2032, and you can send us a WhatsApp on 0614 104 107.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
I think we're going to voice notes now. Let's start at the beginning. Plenty on the sports minister when it comes to the Human Rights Commission who's opened that investigation.
Morning, John. This is Musa from Gotogoza. I'm listening to the radio and I just hear a joke. The HRC asking the minister to delete the post. Well, he can delete the post, but he cannot delete his own mindset, his attitude. If he's a racist, he's a racist. No matter the public post. And what happens? We got a problem in South Africa, John, about people who think that the color of the skin defines a person, when in reality we're all human beings with the same blood. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. Racists have got no room in our country. Thank you, John.
John, good morning. It's Clinton here. John, the Human Rights Commission is simply not fair and transparent. The Human Rights Commission, I think, primarily is only for Africans. The moment, whether you are colored, African or black, whether you are colored, white or Indian, whenever these three different races say something towards Africans, whatever small remark, then the Human Rights Commission are so quick, they are so quick to act. But whenever any other race, whenever black people or African people say something against any other race, they are so slow. They are so slow and reluctant. It's like they are so slow and reluctant to act. So the Human Rights Commission has never been fair. They've never been transparent. It's an obsolete. Let me rather just end here.
Well, on Gayton Mackenzie's issue, the speaker there from Human Rights is saying there is different rules because the minister are expected to uphold and maintain the constitution and the law of the country, which is correct. However, my question is, he said that before he was a minister. Is he going to be charged as a minister of today? Because he never said that as a minister. He said that before he was a minister, before he was even an MP. So should it be expected that he was immature? He was like a simple person in the street who doesn't understand things. You know, when we charge a policeman for crime and criminality, we said they are the men who uphold the laws. The sentence should be more harsher to them than the ordinary person, layman in the street who knows nothing. So Mackenzie did that when he was still nobody. Should there be a different assessment now?
Let's take a quick call before we go to traffic. Kirk is in Cape Town. You want to talk about we're going to Kirk in Cape Town first. Go ahead, Kirk.
Good morning, John. Yes, just on a lighter note, I have family who live in Australia, talking about mining conditions. And a friend of theirs son went to work in a mine and was flown there, housed there, and was living great. But after 2 months, he returned home. So the parents couldn't understand why he was earning so much money. What was the problem? So eventually they got it out of him that the reason he came home was there was no Wi-Fi at the camp that they were living at.
You're kidding. That was the reason.
That was the reason a millennial returned home to his parents' house, because there was no Wi-Fi. Everything else, he's a manual laborer, like a mining worker, like the lower end of the employment spectrum. And he was living like he was at home, except there was no Wi-Fi. And so compare that to our South African mining conditions, where there's no standard for, I don't believe there's any real standard for what they are entitled or beholden to maintain living conditions, food, and so forth. So it's sad. It's another indictment of our labor market.
All right, Kirk,
thanks, John.
Thank you very much. Sounds about right. A millennial coming back because there's no Wi-Fi. Sounds like my son. Ronald also want to talk about mining. Go ahead.
Hi, John. Good morning to the listeners. John, I just wanted to make a comment with regards to non-compliance by mining companies. And it seems like it's a general thing and that there's no solution in terms of who is to enforce this. DMRE is clueless as to what do they have to do about this criminality. And SAPS don't know how to investigate it. And I'm saying it, John, because I've laid charges based on the the Act as well as the Environmental Act. And you just don't get anything from these people. So how are we ever going to turn around things within the mining sector and make sure that mining companies comply if nobody is going to hold them accountable? So I just wanted to make that comment based on your last discussion that you had, John.
Okay, thank you very much. Ronald in Cape Town, thank you very much for your views on mining. We're going to go to traffic with Rob.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, another crash on the R21 this morning. This is the second one. This one by Bupsfontein Road in the roadwork section. So coming out of Pretoria en route to the airport, the route remains busy as you pass Tembisa and line up into that area. The N3 going south has a stationary truck at Van Buren. Now that's quite a big delay coming through Edenvale down through Giluli. Very slow on your way through to Germiston. Behind that, of course, the N12 and R24 routes linking to the N3 south into Giluli will be under pressure. There's also a crash on the N12 Joburg bound before Giluli at the Edenvale exit, causing some delays. Crash on Pretoria's N1 south at Linwood Road, heavy into that coming through from the N4 Emalafeni split. Durban, the N2 going south, the big delays that we had this morning into that taxi crash by Komashu Highway. That's all done and dusted. That's all cleared up. The only real residue of traffic is the M4 from Umhlanga moving down towards sort of Virginia Airport. That route on your way to Durban stays heavy. Crash at Spaghetti Junction on the inbound side now, causing a backlog from Pavilion Mall. The outbound side is cleared, but the inbound still there. And Cape Town, very misty. We are just seeing some flights on flight radar being diverted away from Cape Town and out to George. I can only think that is possibly due to the heavy mist, but it may be something else. But if you're expecting someone in or expecting to depart Cape Town Airport, it might be worth just ringing ahead and checking with the airline rather than just sort of bundling out to the airport and then finding that there's alternative arrangements in place. So check before you travel as far as Cape Town Airport's concerned. N1 inbound through that mist, heavy from Eustonburg down to Brackenfell, and still no traffic lights. Marine Drive, Racecourse Road coming out of Tableview, all bunched up passing Sunset Beach. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Hey SA, entries for FlySafe's Business Booster are closing soon. So if you're a small local business that needs help taking off, enter at flysafe.co.za, tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across our various platforms. Whether you're mixing, matching, crafting, or inventing, we want to help your business skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to WeBuy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy prams that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. WeBuy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Right, we've got 6 minutes left of the show, so let's get short and sharp. Thokozani on the KwaZulu-Natal Premier. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you so much for taking my call. Yeah, you made a lot of valid points, interesting points. But at the same time, I couldn't help but wonder about a lot of other things. Because I feel the tendency seems to be deflecting. A lot of issues that we should be better managing, especially as a province. I'll give, for example, this month is the Women's Month, right? You have March on March blocking clinics and Tutula blocking clinics and everything. At the same time, you have the taxi drivers also taxi associations saying that nobody's allowed to carry passengers. You're supposed to board their taxis. Even if they catch you with people in your car, you get into trouble. That's it. But on the other hand, the main point that I wanted to make is that, officially it's known that South Africa has got about 89%, the level of people who are registered is 89%, right? Meaning that 11% or roughly 6 million of the population is not documented. They don't appear on the national register, right? So if you ignore all those other facts, it makes the whole purpose of a march on March and Operation Tudula a little bit chaotic and a little bit haphazard. That means even legitimate people are being stopped from attending to getting services at the clinics.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we are stuck with a situation whereby vigilante groups basically are running the country. And the problem is the official government managers or bosses, they seem to tolerate them a whole lot more to an extent that they legitimize them. Why allow them in the first place and give credence to vigilantism? That's why we put all these things. Recently
Togazani, I need to move on. Togazani.
Yeah, one last point.
Yeah.
An Uber driver was killed by the taxi guy.
Yes.
So all those vigilantism is affecting us at the end of the day. So we must desist from encouraging it by all means necessary. That's basically my point. Thank you so much.
KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you very much. Let's go to Melrose. Sipo, you want to talk about healthcare access as well?
Yes, John. Quick one, John. I think our callers and the general public at large, I think they need to be informed, when they call with issues. There was a previous caller who called about ANC leaders who had free access to medicine, hospitals and all that. I've lived that experience of exile. It wasn't like that. In Zambia, we had a South African clinic where only South Africans used to go there. In Tanzania, same thing applied. And South Africans were not employed willy-nilly. You could not wake up and go look for a job. So I think the whole immigration process is actually misplaced. If you're a refugee, you're a refugee because you cannot be in your country. You're a political refugee, you're an economic refugee. So I think there needs to be classification and the right communication needs to be put out to the general public because we've got different type of refugees.
Yep, all about communication.
You cannot be a refugee that you stay in South Africa. You're running from Zimbabwe from political persecution,
yes,
but every December you go home.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
All right, Sipo in Melrose. Mike in Newlands, go ahead quickly, Mike.
John, how's it, man? Unemployment seems to be the catchphrase these days. I listen to the National Dialogue scam, and all they talk about is unemployment. Now, we've just had our General Mapanya, who went all the way to Iran. Just keeping in mind first that our unemployment queue now, according to Musi Maimani, runs from Cairo to Johannesburg. It's 6,300 kilometers long. That's how many unemployed people we have in the country. Yet we've got General Mapanya in Iran. Iran is a country that has murdered so far this year about 343 executions in the first 4 months and stoned women to death. He's there telling America where they must go get off and the fact that he hates Israel. Now, at the same time, we've got Parks Tower working hard to patch up relationships with the USA to try and keep 100,000 jobs. And my question I'm asking is, where are the consequences? We know our problem in South Africa is not about land, it's about jobs. We need work. And there must be consequences for the same general that took a jet for 34 million rand just recently for a round trip, John, to Cuba, drenched in champagne, whiskey, and Cuban cigars. And he is now a politician, apparently, not a general, and practicing politics in Iran, a country we have no connections with, no interest in, and it's not even on our continent. And where are the consequences? Because apart from getting jobs, we need to desperately punish those that are destroying our jobs. Thanks, John.
Mike in Newlands, with his views, what are your views as well? 086 000 2032. There's an open line coming up in a few minutes' time. Let's take one or two voice notes to finish up.
Good morning, Herbert from Pretoria. I think the whole thing of foreigners not paying not paying tax is misunderstood. You can't say because somebody, when they buy products, they're paying VAT, and you're saying they're paying tax. We're saying they're not paying personal income tax, and they're also not paying business tax, because the activities are illegal. They are also illegal in the country. That's what we mean. Not paying VAT by buying products that are VAT taxed. Thank you.
Hi, John. I have one question for you. Would you go to any country without a medical insurance? Would you visit any country, anywhere in the world, without medical insurance? and demand that they give you free medical health care when you get to that country. Thank you.
Good morning, John, and your team. This is Sakilin Zubin from One Club Yalingan. John, if the South African Constitution says South Africa belongs to all who live in it, does that include all those who are in the country illegal as well?
I asked that question. Hopefully we'll get an answer one day. You're at SAFM. Thank you very much. Back again tomorrow between 6 and 9. Kathy's up next. It's 9 o'clock.
In our top stories, manhunt for suspects who shot and killed two brothers in Durban and a probe into a fire at Jet Park bus depot. Good morning. Police are still on the hunt for suspects who shot and killed two brothers outside St. Mary's Church in the south of Durban on Saturday. The brothers were attending their uncle's funeral. It's alleged the incident happened after one of the brothers gave a speech at the gathering. KwaZulu-Natal police spokesperson Robert Nechihunda says no motive for the double murder has been established as yet.
Police in Wentworth are investigating a case of double murder following an incident in which two brothers were allegedly shot and killed at the gate of a church on Wentworth on Saturday. It is reported that the deceased, who once lived in Wentworth but relocated to Gauteng province, were attending a funeral of a relative when they were shot. The motive of the killing is yet to be established and suspects are unknown at this stage.
A 43-year